Okay, so for OG, we have School of Allied Health Sciences. Open opposition, School of Sports and Exercise Medicine. Closing government, School of Pharmacy, and closing opposition, School of Nursing and Midwifery. Thank you very much.
All right. So we have this bench as our government bench, and this bench as our opposition bench. And so we'll be starting shortly. But just before we start, we would love Mr. Isaac Nudanu, the current president of the Debate Society, to give us the briefing. Let's celebrate him with a round of applause.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. All right, so my name is Isaac Nudanu. I'm the current president of the Uhas Debate Society, and you are all welcome to this year's edition of SRC Inter-School Debates. So we have 6 schools in the whole province, but for this year, we have 5 schools participating because some school cannot make it because the contestants are not available right now. So we have 5 schools to deal with. This is the structure of the debate. So in round 1, this is the preliminary round. We have 4 schools in this round. The last school is School of Medicine. School of Medicine will not be partaking in the prelims because last year they won. So they are the reigning champions now. So School of Medicine is going to be seeded and they already have a slot at the finals. We are going to have this debate and we'll advance 3 schools to meet School of Medicine at the finals. It doesn't look fair, right? But then, yeah, I mean, they won, so yeah. So School of Medicine is seeded, so they are the finals. We are going to advance 3 schools from here to meet them at the finals, and we have the finals where we have the winner or the champion, we have the first runner-up and the second runner-up, taking up various prizes. A bit on how the judges are going to judge. First, this style of debating is called the British Parliamentary Debate. In the British Parliamentary Debate, there are 4 schools. And there are 2 teams for the opposition, 2 teams for the government. The first teams to speak are called the opening teams, and the ones to speak last are called the closing teams. Coming to the judging, the judges are going to look at how compelling your arguments are. Are you able to prove your arguments very well? What you are saying, are there logical gaps in it? Have you been able to prove how true your arguments are? But then secondly, have you been able to respond to the arguments brought out by your opponents? So these various things are going to be picked by the judges, and we are going to advance 3 schools from this preliminary round. That's all for the briefing. All the best. Best of luck to all. Thank you very much.
Good day, everyone. I'm Vitzman Izio Johnson, and I'm going to be a chair for the round. With me on panel is Kelvin and then Seraph. So the motion for the semi-final round of the SRC Inter-Schools debate reads, and the information slide reads, entrapment is a law enforcement officers induce a person to commit a crime they otherwise would not have committed. This tactic is often used to watch individuals in the act of committing a crime. Examples include, but not limited to, police officers posing as minors in online chat rooms to catch sexual predators. Undercover officers offer large sums of money to individuals to sell drugs, despite their initial reluctance, and etc. Motion then reads, this House would allow the police to use entrapment. Standard BP rules applying 7 minutes speeches, 15 seconds maximum. Anything after that, the judges will not be taking note. POIs are encouraged within the unprotected and anything before the last minute. If you ask the POI and the speaker is not taking you, kindly do not badger. It's 11:33. Sorry, it's 3:33 GMT. The House will recognize the presence of the Prime Minister. Prime Minister, you have the floor here. All right, so I've been noted that we have 5-minute speeches. Okay, thank you. So, just a couple of ground rules. Audience, please, if someone says something and you are in tune with it or you love it and you want to give the person to snap like this, please, if you make noise and we can't hear what your school's representative is saying and we give them a fourth, don't come and fight us afterwards. Thank you very much. All right, Prime Minister, the floor is yours here. Okay, so when you take the floor, you introduce yourself and then you're. So, thank you.
Hello. Okay, my name is Bliss Daisy Agbeku. I'm representing SAS. I'll start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Panel, there are 4 important things I'll be doing in my speech. 1, I'll identify the problem in status quo and provide the policies to address this problem or explain it. I would assess the legitimacy of the ones implementing this policy, and finally, I'll talk on the utility. My framings and characterizations. It is crucial in today's debate that we understand the following setups. 1, the limitations of the law. The basis of ascertaining someone's guilt or innocence is centered on proof or evidence. There is therefore a fundamental burden on law enforcement agencies to provide proof. Certain crime cases like rape, sexual assault, drug use and trade occur in private, so there is usually little to no form of evidence or witness to help in prosecution. Also, the onus of proof lies on the prosecution, not the defendant, making their work more demanding. We're not saying, however, that people should be jailed based on mere allegations. We are saying that certainty is important because of the limitations of the law. Certainty is necessary because, one, according to the Constitution, everyone is presumed to be innocent. Secondly, for the purposes of justice and accountability, because we cannot barely just jail someone on mere allegations. That then takes us to the question of what constitutes a crime. There are four instrumental things that make something a crime or that qualifies something to be a crime. One, the will factor. Two, capacity. Three, action. Four, the result. Talking on the will, this means that before a crime is committed, any individual committing the crime should have a certain intention, and this quantifies it as a crime. That is why in our constitution there are provisions that make the magnitude of punishment heightened for individuals who premeditate their crimes. Example, in first-degree murder, the person convicted is supposed to face the maximum sentence, which is the death penalty in this country. It means that matters of will or intentions, which are contrary to existing laws, are crucial in qualifying something as a crime. Two, capacity. Your ability to reason through your actions, that is, you are not mentally challenged, and also the opportunity tailored for you to execute whatever you had embedded in your will is crucial in determining that something is a crime. Thirdly, the action is the empirical evidence that everyone sees that you've committed a crime. Assuming I take a knife and I stab someone over here, all of you would see that I have stabbed the person and I've committed murder. And that action in itself quantifies it as a crime. The result is felt either personally or by the public at large. Now, in my frame, cipher who is morally corrupt or not, simulations and opportunities are created for suspects to provide or to prove their legitimacy for their moral standings and legal standings. This looks like giving a suspect the opportunity to choose to commit a crime or not at free will by providing an opportunity to them. Mind you, the will element is never taken away, and that is why entrapment is justifiable. Why are all these things relevant in today's debate? Entrapment is a necessary deception that satisfies the limitations of the law by inducing a suspect to escape his true moral standings. That counts as a crime or innocence. My burden in this debate panel is to prove that entrapment is a justifiable proof that someone is a criminal. To my first case, I'll give you 3 levels of analysis for this. 1, not everyone yields to entrapment simulations in the same way, and this is the proof for our justification, because UP cannot prove that everyone will yield to an entrapment simulation in the same way. That is why classically in 2015 the investigative journalist Anas carried out an expose in the judicial sector where a number of judges were kept in entrapment simulations and were offered bribes. Some of them yielded, others did not. People like Justice Julius Ansah, people like Justice Kofi Mensah were amongst these judges who refused Anas's bribes, while other people equally took the bribes, even though it was falsified. This depicted their actual moral standings, and this is crucial in today's debate. Now, people react to situations based on factors like 1, moral orientation, what they perceive as right and wrong, what they uphold as just or worthy, influences their will or desire or motive in executing an action. Secondly, the capacity to do this. How ideal an opportunity is tailored for them to bet the secrecy of their will or intention into an action. Thirdly, the will element. Their autonomy or self-rule dictates to them what line of action to take after juxtaposing the situation. With these factors in play, entrapment is not coercive, but rather revealing. Impact of this. 1, moral standings are examined. Simulation scrutinizes and reviews the moral orientation of suspects. Also, public knowledge of this encourages people to re-examine their moral standings in order to not go contrary to the law and face unnecessary punishment. I'll take POI from closing. Opening. But my time isn't up. You said 7. I didn't hear that. Did everybody hear 7?
Prime Minister, listening is part of debate. Thank you very much for your wonderful speech. We invite the leader of UP to commence the debate for the UP bench here. Also, please, we don't appreciate a boring debate. Please ask POIs. I beg you. I beg.
My name is Dorothy. I'm the leader of opposition. For the purposes of this debate, I prefer to be called she or her. I start my debate in 3, 2, 1. Panel, I am here to do 3 things. To tell you why entrapment should not be used by the police to find out criminals. I'll also be giving you reasons why we should not go with the government bench, but with the opposition bench. Now, I want all of us to understand what entrapment is. The slide tells us that entrapment is when a law enforcement agency induces someone to do something they would not have done otherwise. It means that the person that is being induced will not have done what he or she is being pushed to do. Now, government talked about bringing proof for or evidence for crimes committed like rape. If we want to stop crimes, do we have to commit other crimes to find criminals? That means that government bench is telling the whole house that if a girl is being raped in a community and they want to find out whether the person is a real rapist, they bring another girl inside where the criminal rapes the girl for them to find proof until justice is given. That is what government is telling us. Now, government also made mention that one thing they will also look at is will of a person. Will comes if the person wants to do that willingly, but the will government is talking about is forced will. It means that the person is being forced to do what he or she would not have done otherwise. Now, we are also looking at capacity of a person. Government made mention of capacity, but then I want to see clearly that all of us here, if we are given a high amount of money at a particular range, we'll have reasons to do some things, but we should not use that to find criminals. Now, to my debate. I want all of us to know that entrapment has ethical concerns. We cannot come and create opportunity for another crime to be committed for us to find criminals. That means that it is not a right way of giving justice. It means that government is telling us that we should commit injustice to find justice for other people, which I do not agree. Now, entrapment has, with entrapment, we are going to look at legal and then moral integrity of the law enforcement system. It means that we are going to undermine the police service because we know that the police are liars and they are secretive people who push us to commit crimes for them to show that, yes, the police is working very hard to find criminals for us. So we better do not go and report our cases to them, because when we do, they will push for more crimes to be committed before we find justice. Now, I also want to say that entrapment violates the principle of justice and fairness. If justice must be given, there must not be injustice. And why am I talking about fairness? I'm talking about fairness because you are going to push somebody into committing a crime they would not have wanted to commit. It means that you are not being fair to that person. Apart from that, I also want us to look at the lives of the police service or the police personnel that are being put at risk. Police posing as criminals on sites, for example, dating sites, where they are able to ascertain issues like cyber security or cyber crime. I want all of us to know that the police are at risk. It means that we are not being fair to them. That in its state, we are giving injustice to the police service. Lastly, I also want to say that there are alternatives we can look at. We are entering into a world of technology, and even with that, the criminals can detect whether the people they are talking to are police services. We are talking about criminals, people who have been in their act for a long time, so they know what they are doing. Here, here.
The House thanks the leader of UP for that wonderful speech, and we proceed to invite the Deputy Prime Minister to wrap up the debate for opening government. Here, here. Before DPM starts, I want to remind you for the last time that in very close decisions, we'll use POIs to break the split. So unless you don't want to break, don't ask the POI.
So I'm Bright Ukuma Onyega. I'll be your DPM for today's debate. Preferred gender pronoun, she or her. Starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. So panel, I'll basically be doing one thing in today's debate. I'm going to prove to you why government's bench places first and all other teams should share fourth, third, and second, respectively. Now, member of opposition comes with an interesting argument where she makes us understand that they will not have people who commit crimes that they should actually not do because they are being induced. And this is a problem because this is a standard debate and we need to act a bit intellectual here. When my leader was arguing, he made us understand in his framing and characterization that all these entrapments that are going to be done on suspects and areas which are red spots, areas that are known to have high levels of crime. So if we are going to have an entrapment in the US, for instance, we don't go and induce people in LA or California. We go and induce people in Chicago because Chicago is a hotspot for cocaine. Hence, whatever we are getting there is not something wrong because masses, the majority over there are known to be drug addicts. So that argument of inducement is highly trash. She makes another argument of greater good. She makes another argument of greater good in society when she brings about her whole argument of inducement. The chair, panel, let's note here, the police in the said motion have a limitation in gathering of evidence. They are obliged by law to go through legal ways to gain evidence. And in these drug syndicates, in these cartels, it is very difficult to get valid evidence to prosecute these individuals in the said motion. Hence, entrapment is the next alternative. The chair, panel, let's note in status quo that this entrapment is already existing in status quo, and it has also helped to catch more of these perpetrators of the law. She also argues injustice in our bid to obtain justice, where she gives the argument of individuals raping a girl when they introduce her into a rape-prone zone. The chair, panel, let's note in the first instance that all security forces who opt to enroll in these entrapment engagements carefully monitored and supervised. They have backups in everywhere they go, whereby the press of a button, they are being protected. So that argument of they going into a cocaine populated area, they're going into a rape populated area and still being damaged or harmed is highly flawed. It is trash. Let us understand the intellect of the said motion and argue it well. The chair, panel, let's note a careful analysis my leader of government brings to you in today's debate. He makes you understand that not everyone yields, and he gives you two impacts. He makes you understand per the two impacts that moral standards are examined in both parties, which means they are only giving the disadvantages in their world. But then in our world of entrapment, we even tend to re-echo the goodness of individuals existing in status quo. That is why the judges who didn't take those bribes were applauded and promoted, and the others were suspended. You only achieve that in our world. He also makes you understand in his analysis of it's not yielding the same result that there is enough evidence gathered in our area of entrapment. So that individual who is found to even commit a crime doesn't have any alternative or way to even escape, because we've caught you red hot. The camera is on you while you are selling the cocaine. The camera is on you while you are being a sex predator. This is what you achieve in our world, and you should buy in that. They are highly trashed. They are nodding to every single word I see. I'm making sense. Now, going to the second thing that we are going to argue over here, we make you understand another importance that the security agencies achieve. We can't only argue for the humans, we also have to argue for the security agencies. Now, we make you understand that it also brings confidence in the security agencies, because now people existing in status quo tend to know that individuals who are perpetrators of this act cannot escape, because we have the feds, we have the CIA agents always on the ground and can get these individuals who are perpetrators of the law. So further confidence is even assured in the police. They are further resourced by government, they are further improved, and they are... Let's just pause for now and move to the third point. So with that, you achieve one. On the confidence in society, you achieve two impacts. Confidence in public tend to trust security agencies, that is heightened. And then it also creates room for security agencies to demand more from government for resources, because they now believe that whichever resource, government now has that belief that if I'm pumping $2 million into this FBI, into CIA, to get me drug cartels, drug leaders, I will always get the end result. Major drug cartels and drug leaders, major sex predators existing in status quo that have been caught, is as a result of entrapment. Let's embrace that idea. The chair, another thing, so I'm going to make you understand in our second point and crucial topic in the said motion, is that it also holds these crime syndicates. With entrapment being introduced, these crime syndicates their activities tend to be halted, because they now believe that whichever actions that they are being taken is clearly being monitored by the feds. Hence, any POI. Okay, the chair, panel, we from government believe that we rank first in the said motion, and then all other teams should share second, third, and fourth respectively. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Deputy Prime Minister, for resting the case for opening government. We now invite the Deputy Leader of OP to rest the case for opening opposition and to sum up the opening half. Here.
Hello. I'm Hansen Nobunidako, the Deputy Speaker for the opposition, opening opposition. I'll be starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Okay, so my opponent said that it's will that we use to do the entrapment. So in the case where you tell me that someone is willed to have rape, to go and catch someone, and like he is also going to take the person back, it doesn't work like that. But before that, let me give you the main reason why I think that you guys should rally behind me for the opposition bench. So wrongful conviction. So in this recent time, we heard of the Akwabum 5, people in Kaswa region who were wrongly diagnosed, or let me use the word diagnosed, or caught for a certain case in which they were not ready for it, because like they were coerced to do confections. And you know the entrapment, it doesn't happen as a result of just your will, but there are coercion that happens that results in the entrapment. Also, I'd like to also mention the case of lack of crime prevention. Are you trying to prevent crimes, or you are trying to help promote the crimes? Let's look at the fundamentals of what brings the crime, and not looking at ways that they think it prevents the crime. So looking at our poverty situation, looking at lack of educational opportunities, those are the ways that we can deal with, rather than entrapment, which will serve as a waste of time and resources. Moving on, we have erosion of trust. So erosion of trust, that is entrapment undermines. Yeah. I'm still building my speech, thank you. So, erosion of trust. So, entrapment undermines trust in law enforcement, essential for effective community policing. So, that is the Kaswa cop killer case, where mistrust led to violence, and also looking at the Ayawaso West region, where police brutality led to widespread condemnation. So, are you looking at the way to protect the society, or the way
that will help, that will prevent crime. Next, moving on, I want to reiterate on my point again, that is ethics. So the ethical case, as my earlier speaker said, a rape case where you bring in another person to check whether this person is a rapist, I'm not violating the right of that poor little girl who are using as a bait to check whether this is a rape case or not. Also, let's look at alternative strategies that can be used in place of entrapment. So we have surveillance, we have policing, we have education, corporal punishments are there. There are other ways in which we can use if our systems were working, not entrapment only. So let's look at something. How can you tell me that the person came out of his or her role? Because unless I induce you, so it means you are psychologically, I'll take you later. You are psychologically or mentally distressed. That is why you don't know what to do. That is why I tell you that do this before you do that. In bringing my speech to an end, I would like to list all the points that I want you all to rally behind me and support the opening opposition. So 1, we have ethical concerns. 2, we have legal and moral integrity. 3, we have violate principle of justice and fairness. 4, we have wrongful conviction. 5, we have alternative strategies. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, the Deputy Leader of UP, for resting the case, for opening up and summing up the debate for the opening half. The House now recognizes the Member of Government and invites the Member of Government to the podium to commence the closing half here.
Good afternoon. All right, so my name is Ampo Fupiasa. And yeah, let's get straight into things. All right, so we get something from our opening government. They tell us that the problem is our police forces are unable to gather evidence legally, and therefore they need to put in these measures. What I think is important for us to notice is it's not because of how legal or how problematic gathering the evidence legally is, but rather is that in modern times right now, these criminals have been able to devise means and ways to be able to escape the normal methods that our police forces use. So things like DNA identifications do not work anymore because now people have gloves and other things, so they can beat past these systems that the police force already have. And therefore, there's that need to put in a new way to capture these people. Also, it's important for us to consider that the minds of criminals work differently from that of normal human beings. Criminals do not think the way we normally do, and therefore they are able to see certain things. In their world, even though they are able to catch certain people, they are still going to grab certain people who normally will not commit crimes because of the coercion things. But in my world, what we are going to do is we will study the psychological minds of criminals. There's already evidence that shows that people who commit crimes think in a certain manner. People who kill, people who do certain things, they think in a certain manner. And therefore, by getting this data and then being able to trace this, we are able to identify the people who could potentially cause some crimes or commit some crimes. In their world, they are going to wait for the crimes to happen first. But in my world, we are able to study the trends and we are able to identify that certain people or this person has a potential to commit a crime. And therefore, we are going to monitor the person and bring in these entrapments and try to see if the person would fall into it. If the person does fall into it, then it means that what we have set up, the system that we have, is now going to work. And now the person is more or less, we already determined that the person has the potential to be a criminal, and so the person would now be incriminated and then the due process will be done. So the difference between my world and theirs is, in their world, they still grab people who are potentially not criminals, but because human beings have that normal tendency under duress to commit certain crimes, they would grab in people who normally would not commit crimes. But in my world, at least, in my world, there's that mechanism that does not tries not to bring in people who would normally commit the crimes, who would normally not commit the crimes. All right, so why would governments buy into this already? Now we have a lot of arguments coming from OG, and they have very fine arguments. Social contracts and other things like that are important things that we need to consider. The government already has a social contract with us, and therefore they have to protect us, the citizens. So therefore, they don't have to wait for for people to start committing crimes before they start entrapping them. But rather, if they start putting in mechanisms that would entrap these people first, we create a safer world where people feel safer. They are in their world, people are going to buy into things like police being safer, police being a better force, and then other things like that. But in my world, at least, for things like social contract, we do things better for our people. This takes away things like lack of trust in the effectiveness of the police force, because in OO's world, or in the world that they want to preach, which is the status quo, there's a huge lack of trust in their world. Why is there that lack of trust? People would literally commit crimes freely, and then the police would now have to go through systems that don't already work now, which are approved. Why? Because things like DNA identifications are not working, and these criminals are able to bypass these systems that are already in place. But when you put in this policy, now the systems that they are bypassing, they don't bypass it anymore. We are able to even catch them before they start committing the crimes. This brings about things like social unity, and then people get behind the police force. We reduce crime rate. It serves as a deterrent, and therefore, certain people who now have that mentality would now know that doing certain things like this is not a good thing. We protect the rights of the citizens, and then, as I said, the trust in the police force is increased. So the most important thing that I would want you to consider is the difference between my arguments and then that preached by the OG. We try to grab these people before they even start committing the crimes, because the criminals have a certain mentality and they think in a certain manner. And therefore, by tracing these statistics, we are able to know that these people have the potential. And therefore, when we entrap the people who have these potentials, we are able to prevent crimes.
All right. Thank you very much, Member of GAV, for that wonderful speech. We invite the member of UP to commence the debate for the closing UP team. Here.
My name is Juanito Foria Meche, and I'm the member of opposition. I begin my speech in 3, 2, 1. So the past members came to state what entrapment is, and I'll go ahead. I would like to state the problem, even though someone has done that. I would also like to state it, and also give an alternative before I move to reasons why we think the entrapment policy is not going to work. So the problem is there were a lot of mechanisms officers used to catch criminals, but a lot of criminals have grown intelligent, and because of their intelligence now, they're able to escape the investigations of police officers or officers. So now this is the problem. Hence, there's supposed to be something to solve this issue, right? But we don't think entrapment is the best solution to this. What we think is the alternative we are proposing is that we are proposing the intelligence-led policing and undercover operations. So in this policy, officers are to gather information about suspected criminals, people they think are potential criminals. They gather information concerning these people, okay? How do they do this? They move to places where they think these criminals are, and they blend into their environment. They try to be like them, get closer to them, and find information. And all these things, they are doing it undercover. This is very feasible because the government has the resources. I mean, what will you not do to save millions from the harm one might cause? You are going to save lives. You are going to save a lot of people. So this is the alternative you are bringing. The government will be able to do so. Okay. So the model is policemen will be trained. They'll be trained very well. I mean, on how to go about this. They'll receive special training, and also they will stick to their oath of secrecy. And there will be punishment attached to anyone that tries to break this oath of secrecy. Meaning that if I plan that I'm going to Konongo, to maybe we have a suspect there, and we are going to plan it among a group of officers, right? It won't be only me. So we are all going to keep this oath of secrecy, meaning that no one outside our chain is going to get to know of this, which will make our investigation smooth and successful. Okay, so reasons why we on reasons why I'm not taking it. Reasons why we think this policy of entrapment is not right is first of all, the evidence provided by this policy, entrapment, is not reliable. Why? A lot of people are suffering in the country. What if I come to you right now and I give you money and I tell you to sell drugs? You are going to do it out of vulnerability. You do not have money. You need money. You need money to eat, so you're going to do it anyways, okay? The next reason why we think that this policy of entrapment is also wrong is the crime rate of a country is not true. Now, we know we draw statistics every day, and you are trying to coerce people into committing the crime. You are not trying to coerce them, but at the end of the day, you are doing exactly that. And these people end up committing crimes, and the government will draw statistics, and they will find out a lot of people are committing crimes, but in actual fact, they maybe did not intend to do it, but they have been forced to do so. Okay. The next thing is abuse of power. Okay, so for time purposes, I will say some points, allow my partners to come and explain these points. Okay. So the next thing is abuse of power. Another problem we think this entrapment brings is that it brings about a lot of legal challenges. There is also violation of rights of individuals. It also, there is lack of deterrence. I'm going to explain this. Someone was saying something about deterrence. Lack of deterrence because you are trying to prevent crime, but at the end of the day, you are preventing minimal crimes and allowing the serious ones to do what they want. They know that you are going to use this. Those who are into serious crimes are very intelligent. You don't expect someone who is very good at dealing in cocaine to just do his things anyhow. They all have ways of going about it. So if you say, like, at the end of the day, you'll be doing this to their children, those who are not very strong in these crimes, and you'll be allowing the tycoons up there to go on doing a lot of, so it lacks deterrence rather. I'm sorry. And the next thing is risk of targeting vulnerable individuals. Another challenge we are putting forward is there are challenges in proving entrapment as a defense, okay? And also, there is a difficulty in distinguishing between real criminals and, induced criminals, okay? Yes. So, thank you.
All right, thank you very much, member of OP, for that speech. We invite the government whip to sum up the debate for us here. For government bench here.
All right. So let's get straight into things. Firstly, on some engagement. So we get from CEO that the evidence that is provided is not reliable. This is what I want to say. Crime is crime. And we've already had a very large characterization from our OG where they tell us that the will factor is still going to be in play, and therefore you have that choice. They don't take away your ability to make a choice. So therefore, if you commit that crime, it's quite reliable anyway, so you can't tell me that. Also, you're saying that it is very difficult to identify between induced crime and then someone who's actually a criminal and does it. I've already proved to you that my mechanisms are going to put in place things that would identify people who actually have that mentality for crime. Because this thing is actually a very real thing here. People do have that mindset to commit crimes. There are people who actually have that daily mindset. They want to do something, they want to kill, they want to do something of that sort. So our statistics would be able to identify these people and entrap them. You talk about gathering information, blending in. When you blend in with people and then you gather information, at the end of the day, you are more or less coercing them because you are not trying to just barge in. You are entering into their space, trying to be like they are, trying to make them comfortable around you, and therefore you'll be able to get what you want from them. You are still coercing them in some sense, in some ways. You are not it's not different. It's not something different from entrapment. It's still a form of entrapment. So that does not run for you guys. Good. Yeah, 15 seconds is up. But still, I'll try and engage you on that. At the end of the day, if you blend in with people, you would have to do certain things to cause them to become comfortable with you. Okay, if you don't buy it, sure. At the end of the day, you still have to do certain things to make them comfortable around you. Imagine that I am a thief, and then you just come to me. You don't do any, you don't, you just come. Yo, how do you sell the cocaine around here? How do you do certain things around here? There's no way me as a sensible thief, I'll buy into that and just start giving you information. You need to do certain things, need to commit certain things, and make me feel comfortable around you. Which means you need to coerce me to do certain things. You need to create an environment where I'd feel comfortable around you. It is still a form of entrapment. It doesn't run. All right, now let's just bring this whole debate to a close. Yeah, reasons why they don't run, they shouldn't even rank first and second. I don't expect to see them in second, third and fourth. Really, at the end of the day, why? One, in status quo already, we see that our members in this society are suffering from things like this. Criminals commit crimes and then they run away with it. Why? Because the systems and mechanisms in place are not strong enough or are not good enough to capture these people. And therefore, there's that need to go the extra mile and put in place this policy. We have mechanisms from CG, we have mechanisms from OG that basically trash all of their arguments. They have nothing. They literally have nothing. In status quo as a moment, as I'm right now, we still don't have that trust in our police force. Why don't we have that trust in them? It's because when we call the police, we know that it's going to take a very long time for them to start doing certain things. And therefore, when the crimes are committed, there's that high chance that they even wouldn't catch the criminal anyway. The criminal finds means and ways of running away. But when we entrap people, that one, they say they suspect. Or two, we believe strongly that they have that mindset to commit crimes, or they have that mentality that they want to, that mentality to commit crimes. When we are able to grab these people, we create a safer society for our people. And then the social contract that the government and then the police force has with the members of the society, they are able to adequately ensure that they keep their people safe. This is the world that we want to achieve. This is what we are preaching. Not a world where people are free to commit crimes and are able to run away with it anyway. We want a world where we are able to grab these people even before they start committing crimes. We're able to grab these people when they think they are smarter than the police force, but then we put things in place that are able to grab them. And that's why we want to enact this policy. We need to enact this policy so that we can make sure that our people in the society are safe. And therefore, when people move around, they don't have to be scared that, hey, one thing or the other can happen when I'm in this space or I'm in this society or I'm in this town. They are free to do as they please. They are able to move freely, and then society moves on as it's supposed to be. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Government Whip, for summing up the debate for the government bench. We now invite the Chief Whip to sum up the debate. Here.
So Adonelli. Okay. That's my speech in 3, 2, 1. For what you said, you mean that you are agreeing that we are being coerced by the people. That's what you're trying to say. And to you said that when the police people do that, they get more resources. But didn't you think that these resources that they are going to get, They were being planned for something else. They were being planned for something else. That, let's say, example, maybe the government has planned to use this money for educational purposes. But you, the police, you are saying we should enforce, entrapment. So you have to take the money for educational purpose to come and do your entrapment, which is going to affect the educational sector of the little ones coming up. While I acknowledge the potential benefits of entrapment in catching dangerous criminals, the fundamental issues is that it violates the core principles of justice and processes. Entrapment by every nature involves the government actively inducing individuals to commit crimes that they are not ready to commit. With this, you are trying to humiliate their rights, because it's going to affect the rights of me, because I'm not ready to do something. But because I'm not vulnerable, I don't have that money, POI not accepted. Because I'm not vulnerable and I don't have that money to do that, when you bring that to me, you bring me the money to go and do that, I will take that money. With that, you are abusing my rights and you are infringing on it. I also talk about it. It encourages crime. It enables individuals to commit crime that they are not ready to commit. Then the third point is abuse of power. Every person has a right of liberty. Did you think about their right of liberty before going to give them that money or going to give them that opportunity to do that? This one, there will be bias in it, in the sense that they will have to target certain people. Let's say he said something about a place that the place is high in cocaine selling. Let's take Nima for example. So are you trying to say that Nima is a town that they are noted for bad things? So are you trying to say that all the people in the town, they are noted for, like, they all do bad things? Which is no, POI not accepted. It brings about legal challenges. It will be very difficult to prosecute them. So if you are bringing these people and you bring them to court, how sure are we that we can give them fair justice? POI not accepted. Because it will be unfair to them. Let's say you have sent people to the town to go and do something about rape, and when they went, maybe, how sure am I also that the person that I have sent to go and see the rapist or to go and do investigation, how sure am I that the person too is not close to that person? We should think about friendship, because although people are in a community, by hook or by crook, they might come together. So you might send these people. If you send me to go and check on something about someone, I will, by all means, let's note, every friend has a friend. Although you have told me not to tell someone, I'll go and tell someone. That's someone to go and tell someone. By the time we'll be ready for the investigation, the person has already run away. You are not accepted. There is difficulty in distinguishing between the real crime, the real criminal, and the fake criminal. So if you go to the community and you tell this person this child has been raped, so we are bringing you this small girl to go and see if it was this man that did a crime, how sure are we that it was this man that raped the man? Because you know that when there is a rape case, they know when they take them to the police station, they take them to the hospital for them to do a test, and we know that, if the child has really been raped by someone, they will take a sample of the sperm, and with a sample of the sperm, it will help us to know whether this child was on rape, because there is no way every single man will have the same kind of sperms in their body. You are not accepted. It is resource intensive, because a lot of resources will be involved in this. You have to provide them with gadgets. You have to provide them with food. You have to protect them. Give them additional security, because with this you are putting the lives of the other people at risk. Because even in the police, even the security personnel, by all means, one of them in their circle would go out and leak the information out to the people. So how sure are we that this entrapment is going to help us find the defaulters? Thank you.
Thank you very much, speakers, for a wonderful debate. The House will now recess and adjudicators will take 10 minutes maximum for deliberation. So shake hands, smile, cool off, and then you come back after 15 minutes maximum for the grand finale. Thank you very much.
Hello. Hello. Hey, are we having a good time? Hey, are we having a good time? It's like this energy. I don't know whether some of us are sad or what is going on. Hello. Hello. So our adjudicators have some few minutes to round up with everything to come up with the breaks for the finals. But just before then, we would love to all share ideas on the motion. So I would want to read the info slide again. Are we here? So the info slide says, entrapment is a law enforcement practice where officers induce a person to commit a crime they otherwise would not have committed. This tactic is often used to catch individuals in the act of committing a crime. Examples include, but not limited to, police officers pose as minors in online chat rooms to catch sexual predators. Undercover officers offer large sums of money to individuals to sell drugs, despite their initial reluctance. This house would allow the police to use entrapment. So I believe we heard all the ideas that were brought forth by our speakers. So now it is time for us to also deliberate on the motion for today, share our thoughts on it, and let's all have a good time. So I'm coming around. I'm coming around. Let's all share what we think. So Archimedes, please, what do you think?
All right, and so what I think with this particular motion is for us to start from the top. Understanding what entrapment itself means. I think it was defined by this motion and its usage within society. If I were to argue on the use of entrapment as a society, and I would start from how crime has changed. And so you know that the sorts of crimes that we had in society over the past few decades has evolved. And so now we are looking at a world where people are committing much more of cyber crimes, cyberbullying, sex extortion online. And these are crimes that usually they sit in the comfort of their rooms and commit these crimes. Now, these are also crimes that the police system find very difficult to investigate. And so you can't just knock on somebody's door and tell them, I want to come in and check on your laptop because of course, privacy. And so if we want to target such people, we want to get a system that specifically targets them on the platform that they commit the crime. Here we understand the platform they commit the crime then is the internet. And so for the policing system, which is much more involved in crime prevention and also, arrest of criminals, would also have to use that specific platform. And so the main essence for this debate for PROP is to explain that if crime has evolved or crime has changed, and then there is a means that these people commit crimes, then the police must also use that same means to catch these people when they are committing that specific crimes. I don't personally think that the conversation of forcing people to commit crime is quite valid. That is because before a crime is committed, you should form an intention to commit that crime. And so if you've not formed an intention to commit that crime, no matter how many times you are lured into committing that crime,
you are not going to fall into the trap. So, for instance, I come to this room, there is a shoe that you are wearing. I don't have money to buy the shoe. The fact that I don't have money to buy the shoe does not mean that you can't wear that shoe. I'm exposed to that shoe. It allows me to get that shoe. But then I know because I don't have the money, I don't have the right to go for that shoe. And so the fact that you are wearing it does not mean that I have the absolute right to steal it just because you are showing it to me or you are displaying it to me. And so for such people too who are on the platforms, they already have a preconception of what crime looks like and they would want to commit that crime. All we are doing is just feeding into their bias. And so they already had a pre-existing bias that we are using that specific bias to catch them. And so if that's how we are going to catch them, then I don't think that it's going to be easy for us to catch innocent people per se, or people who don't have a preconception of what that crime looks like or the ability to commit that crime. Yeah, so that's what I think for the side of prop.
Okay, let's give it up for Archimedes. Thank you so much. So would love to hear from another person. I don't want somebody who has already spoken as a contestant. So, oh, my ladies, please, anybody wants to share something with us? Okay, you want some few moments to put your thoughts together. Okay. Okay. Just like people want the contestants to elaborate on what they already said here. Okay, the contestants will speak for you. Antonio.
Okay, so for me, if I was to be in government, if I were to be in government, I would have debated the idea of new technology, as Archimedes said, and then I would have told up that apart from the revenue issue they brought, that it can be channeled into other things, they should know that there's already money allocated for those things, and that these things can only be related to a particular type of crime, and then not all types of crime. So they should have given us examples, like I would have given examples where this type of like entrapment can be used to find criminals by not making them commit the crime, like catching the person almost in the act. Yes, I would have said something like that.
Okay, thank you so much. I would love to hear from Nello. Please tell us something concerning the motion. What would you run in up or in gap bench?
The motion is naturally against. Okay. If it was me, yes, I would allow the police to use entrapment because it seems like realistically, the criminals are growing. Like they're expanding their intellect and IQ and everything. So if they're also growing, why won't you, as a security service, also do the same and even try and outsmart the criminals in their own game? Because criminals also know the ways of policemen. In fact, to be able to outsmart a policeman, you should know the insides and outs of a policeman. So in fact, we have some criminals who are ex-policemen, but then that can also be like a dicey situation because we also have we also have criminals, have policemen who are in the service and then they've come to be criminals. And then we have criminals too who are there and then they are now policemen. So I mean, like general overall, I'll say yes. I'll use the entrapment because it's more effective, and it's although it's coercion, it's like you are bringing out the worst in people to see what they'll do if they were put in that situation, to see like how many good people you have in your country. So yes, it's like they're putting you to the test. Like God is putting your faith on on trial. Yes, so if they put your faith on trial, if they put your loyalty on trial, we'll see what you do then and be able to know whether he or she is a criminal at heart. Sometimes you only just need to push the person small to see if truly, truly he's a good person. And that's what entrapment is doing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nello. So the question today remains simple. Should people be induced to commit a crime? Is it justified? Is it not? Share your thoughts. That's what we are still doing. So are we coming round? Nobody should tell me they are putting their thoughts together. I presume by now everyone is done.
I think if I were to argue this motion, I'll argue for opposition. Yes. And I like what Archimedes mentioned with cybercrime dominating the said motion. But then with entrapment, you are just able to catch the criminals but not stop the act. When you identify these black sites, shut them down. Create a room where these acts can't be committed. Don't waste so much money catching the culprits. Stop their activities. When it comes to the persons as a whole as well, I think the police are also disadvantaged when it comes to entrapment. Let's forget cybercrime. These police officers who go into these cocaine or drug-dominated areas tend to also take in the cocaine. They tend to also take in the heroin because they want to convince these cartel members that I am part of you, I am you. And then at the end of the day, most of them come out as drug addicts. This is relevant among the feds, among the CIA agents. It's something that exists in status quo. Endangering police officers, endangering individuals with the act still going on, I believe is a bit biased on the part of police officers. The best alternative I can give in my word is all those monies pumped into the security agencies for entrapment, rather use it to furnish the security agencies. If online policing is done on a weekly basis with limited audience, widen it. If individual patrol is done in these drug-dominated areas 7 hours daily, increase it to 10 hours and see how the cartels are faring. If the production of the cocaine is going on more, increase it to another 12 hours to reach a level where you know that you have fully eradicated their activities. That should be the best. And I think that's what I'll argue for.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Bright Goku. Then again, looking at the criminal justice system of Ghana, if you decide to lure 1,000 people into committing a crime, do you even have a prison for them? Anyway, let's move to hearing everyone's thoughts.
I think I'll also go for opposition because I feel entrapment is not really the best, as Goku is saying. Because at the end of the day, you are catching the people, but you are not shutting down whatever they are doing. So I believe entrapment is not the best to catch criminals, but we should use other alternatives rather than entrapment.
All right. Thank you so much for your thoughts.
Okay, so I would support the motion. I'm for entrapment, in the sense that I think for the security service or for the police to decide to use entrapment for certain suspected criminals, there would be some series or rate of occurrence. So considering the Anas Arimeyao Anas issue, you realize that the judges that were caught or were found to be guilty had series of acts where they had actually faulted. And so it's not like you just catch someone performing or in a crime or engaging in a crime and then immediately like, let's entrap the person. It should happen once, twice, or 3 times for you to say that, okay, this is the act of this group of people. So now let's find a way to prove that they are actually guilty. And so I am for entrapment. and there was some statement of using DNAs and all of that in cases of rapes. So let's say pedophiles, child rapists. I'm sure they are becoming learned and realizing that, okay, using DNAs, they can realize they are those at fault. So what if they are using objects? What if they are using sex toys and all of that on their victims? How exactly are you going to get that fluid, sperm, whatever, to conduct your DNA on to make those arguments? And so sometimes you just have to employ this entrapment if you realize that there's been series of reports and it's been proven that this is the character of the person we are suspecting. Yeah, that's it.
All right. It seems the ladies are speaking a lot today. I'm hearing very less of the gentlemen. So I'm seeing a gentleman in white. Tell us something. Oh, no, 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 no. We want to hear from you. Tell us what they said, if they've said it all.
Right, so in my case, you see, he made mention about, when they were making the argument, he made mention about rape issue. I want to ask, aside, as it's certain, like in a rape situation, is there any other situation that could, so, because it was always like, is either the drug issue or the rape issue, like, if, why don't you send an individual to see whether really true that the person is real? I want to, I don't know if the person is here, can also give an instance where behind the rape issue, there could be the measures could also be put in place when it comes to.
So, if I get your question right, what you are saying is that aside drug dealing or rape, is there any other instance where entrapment would be necessary? Is that your question? All right, I'll find somebody to answer it for you. Archimedes, there's a question for you and for everyone. Okay, so somebody is asking that we've been talking about rape issue and drug dealing, but then where else would entrapment be of relevance? If we are to use entrapment, which other crimes do we think using entrapment is going to be of relevance? Want to tell us something?
I think human trafficking. Because entrapment will be really good over there, but it also will come into play to also be then the no in human trafficking. And in human trafficking, that means that the security over there must be tight. Because if you are coming to do entrapment in human trafficking, then the person needs to be there. The person needs to be involved. The person needs to create a connection, the cohesion. No, the person needs to create a friendship, and the person needs to gain their trust, the trust of the people that he or she is going into with. Because in human trafficking, you can't just go there today and tomorrow you are coming back. No. So I feel like if they use that thing, like the entrapment in human trafficking, it will be really successful. And I think in using that to, in coming to the opposition side, I think that's when the issue of the security will come into place. Because first, the person is in danger first. Secondly, the person is like a really mental stability to be able to cope with that thing. Okay, so I think entrapment to be good for human trafficking, but still, the issue of security and mental ability will be the issue. Thank you.
All right, I think somebody mentioned the idea about Anas. I think that's what Anas actually does in terms of when he lures people into crimes. But for me, I'm quite skeptical about even using entrapment in instances of rape and all those things, because those are very sensitive crimes. And then it's like you are putting another person's life in danger because you want to expose another. And I don't think that's justified in any front, because possibly at the time where you get there, the act has already occurred. The lady is already traumatized. And so no level of justification can be used because you want to catch a criminal, you put another person's life in danger. Usually what entrapment looks like is to make sure that anyone that is involved in that specific act is not under any threat or is not under any specific danger, because if you know this is a hardened criminal and you send that child there because you want to expose that hardened criminal, what happens if the child dies? It means your means of even obtaining that specific evidence now is not justified. It's questionable. And when you go to court, these things are also going to come up. Because at the end of the day, it's like you did not use the right means possible. Of course, we want to get the maximum outcome, but the means at which you are getting the maximum outcome to is very, very important as society and the law court. If not, the one you have caught can fight themselves out of the use of entrapment and say that you did not use the legal means to get them to commit the crimes. And that's the reason why not everyone that Anas has caught through the process has been incriminated, because it's out there that, well, you caused me to commit the crime by threatening me or by forcing my hands to do so. Yeah, so that's what I also think about the crimes that we use entrapments for. Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you. So we are back and we are here with the call and the justification. Please, all the debaters should get seated. All debaters and then spectators should get seated. All right. Let me time myself. 7 minutes maximum, I should be done. Are all the debaters here so that you understand why you are proceeding and why you are not proceeding? I don't want any drama afterwards. I beg. School of Allied Health Sciences, confirm your presence. School of Pharmacy, confirm your presence. School of Sports and Exercise Medicine. School of Nursing and Midwifery. All right, thank you very much. So starting in 3, 2, 1. So after a match anticipated semi-final, this was what transpired within the debate. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to compare the various issues that happened within the round, and I'll be integrating feedback, constructive feedback. Don't feel offended. I mean, you know, sometimes I'll use some words that I don't mean. Like, yeah, it's because I feel comfortable around all of you. All right, so opening government. What do we have from opening government? I think the framing that comes from opening government is centered around the idea that crimes occur in secrecy within some hotspots within states, and that necessitates the reason why state has to push a lot of resources to this part of the state to entrap these people, because it's very difficult to catch them. The second thing they say is to analyze the idea of crime. So they talk about the will and they talk about the conviction. So more like the mens rea, the actus rea, and those things, right? And the second thing that they also prove is why, in both instances, when you are able to induce the suspect, because both of them have different moral codes, because most of them have different thresholds to like induction, the outcome is not always that they are going to commit the crime. And that's because people, like when you induce, it's a force within people's biases. So they choose to whether to do the crime or not. And by so doing, you can be able to measure or extrapolate their will to do the crime. So for example, if you steal, regardless of whether you're entrapped or not, you still have that idea that you want to steal. And we can use that to measure the will or the actus rea to commit the crime. Right, so that necessitates the reason why most of the police or the security system needs to do this to solve this. So they say both outcomes is utilitarian. Both outcomes are utilitarian. How? Because if we catch the person, then we can use the due processes to prosecute the person, blah, blah, blah. The second thing is, if we are not able to catch the person, that it enforces the idea that they are not criminals and a whole lot of things that they say. I think the last thing, which is the broader impact they give to you from opening government, is on the idea of safety and security of the officers and how crime is monitored and how this also hurts crime syndicates, because if you know that you'll be entrapped, you are most likely skeptical in committing most of these crimes. By so doing, it limits the extent at which most people are able to commit the crime. So that's a summary of what we get from opening government. What do we get from closing government, and how was the bench comparative like? So closing government, I think we get a better conceptualization of the debate from closing government. The reason being that closing government is the team that frames and tells you that there has been an evolution of crimes, and this has created a necessity to capture these people. And by so doing, because these people have kind of the same sophistication that most of these states and everything have, they've been able to breach the power asymmetry that the state originally had to clamp them down. It means that you now have to target the very thought process that now like forces them to commit the crime. So they frame the entrapment to look like a preemptive idea to prevent most of these people from committing the crime. The second thing they tell you is the principal justification as to why, if there's a perceived threat, states should still do this. They tell you about the social contract, the need for state to create a security and a social environment where people are able to feel safe to interact with the very structures that exist within the system, right? And they tell you about how their scale of impact and everything. The second thing is when they tell you that choice is still existent in the framework of people. So it's not like the entrapment looks like we are going to force you to collect the bribe or we are going to force you to do the crime. It looks like they are creating an environment. So if you do it, it's just on you, right? Even though these things were nice, from panel and on the discussion, we felt even though closing government was able to do a lot of the mechanism and the legwork as to why these things are true, a lot of the impact still boil down to what opening government has been able to establish within the round in terms of the protection and the scale of impact that happens. So even though we credit closing government extension for the novelty and the vertical extension, that's the analysis that they bring, still felt on the government bench, opening government was half closing government. All right. So closing opposition versus the up bench was quite dicey and a lengthy discussion for us. Why? Because at the end of the debate, we were like, what exactly is the up bench defending? So what we get from opening up is when they say, well, we think on our side of the house, even though we are not able to use these things, they are able to protect the rights of these people and you're able to maintain justice. Why? Because given that you are, even though you are able to get a certain form of benefit, it's still not right, or there is no justification to use these people as a pawn or as a means to that end that you want to gain. So they question the principle behind you entrapping these people to get evidence that opening government says, which means that there was then a burden on the gov side to defend why the justification on that side is particularly crucial. Right? So that's the idea we get from opening opposition. The whole alternative idea, they don't make the alternative. But the BP manual, if you are bringing an alternative, you need to show me why your alternative is better. You don't just flag the alternative. And you know that I'm not supposed to be teaching you this at this point. You need to tell me why. You need to model the alternative and show me why that model alternative you are bringing is comparatively better than what the gov teams are doing. Because you don't do that, none of us was able to credit your alternative. So we ignored your alternative. It was of no merit within the round. Then closing opposition. Closing opposition's whole case was based on an alternative. And here is it. They say, well, our alternative is intelligence, policing, and surveillance. How does this look like? It looks like we will let these people go, or we let these people go and stay with these people undercover so that they are able to know the things that they are doing. So, for example, in a drug cartel, we will send Gaga to a drug cartel, and then Gaga will go and live with them, interact with them, and Gaga will know all the processes. Then Gaga will come and tell us, then we'll deal with them. That's a graphical picture of the CEO case, right? So here's the problem we had with CEO. Even if we wanted to buy their alternative, right, which is not done because per the BP rules, they cannot bring an alternative from closing. When one, they don't show us why their openings alternative is bad. Two, they don't model the alternative to a certain extent to show us why it's comparatively better. Or three, prove an overarching necessity. So you need to prove an overarching necessity as to why that alternative, without that alternative, the motion cannot stand or the world is very, very terrible. You don't do that. But let's assume that they did it, right? The reason why we are not able to buy their case, that their impact, right from member to whip was like, well, entrapment is resource intensive. Entrapment looks like you are profiling the people. So the Nima example, if we are sending people to Nima, then it means that all Nima people are bad. Here is why we don't also buy the alternative. Because if you are sending Gaga to Nima to go and grow with Nima people, with the idea that when Gaga grows with the Nima people, Gaga will come and snitch on the Nima people, it is still under the presumption that you think there is a threat in Nima. And so you still presume that the Nima people are bad. So it's unclear as to how your alternative is able to mitigate the very problem you identify from this side of the house. The second thing is on the resources. You say, well, entrapment is resource intensive. Then you say, let's let these people go and stay with them, grow with them, do whatever thing. They will come and give us information. When they are staying with them and doing all those things with them, is the police not going to feed them? Is the police not going to provide them all those stuff? Which resources are you able to do? So you can't fiat resources on your side from CO and assume that on the side of the government bench or on all the other side, they don't have resources. That's not how British parliamentary debating works. The last thing then is on the idea of, so the very last thing is on the idea of how evidence is not reliable. I think even though we wanted to buy that case, we weigh that up against the lack of evidence. So the whole of government bench is beating you because you say evidence is not reliable. First of all, your alternative just looks like entrapment. So even that one is out of the discussion. But let's assume the evidence is not reliable. On your side of the house, you don't prove to us how you are able to get that evidence or that level of unreliable evidence in the first place. So even if they get 1% of reliable evidence on this side of the house, they are beating you on scale of impact because on your side of the house, you don't get the evidence at all per their frame, which you agree in the member of up speech. So once you agree to their frame, then it means that you need to show us how you are comparatively able to get that better evidence or reliable evidence on your side of the house. You are not able to do that, and that's why you fall short to the government benches. Your opening beats you because your opening at least tries to say, well, we think the process itself is bad. You agree to the process, but you're not able to show us how your word is comparatively better. So they bite the harder pill and prove why that is so. So on a unanimous decision, we have advancing first to the grand finale, opening government, and then second to the grand finale, closing government, and third to the grand finale, opening opposition to join the School of Medicine. Thank you.
And Miss Lily Azuma Lolo. So can we have our contestants from OJ, CJ, and OO joining us here? So I think all our contestants are seated and we will be beginning shortly. However, our sponsors have something special for all those that contributed in the argument. And so we would love to share that quickly. So kindly raise your hand if you spoke during the engagement of the... So kindly raise your hand if you contributed towards the discussion on the motion, and let's give you yours. So let's acknowledge our sponsors once more with a round of applause. Okay, so we'll be beginning shortly. A School of Medicine in the house. A School of Medicine in the house. A SARS in the house. Oh, a SARS in the house. Is SOP in the house? Hey! SOP, please kindly call your people to join us because we are here to cook something. Yeah, they are busy. They are coming. They are preparing the drug. They are waiting for them. Okay, so I think it's Sam in the house. Hey, this yeah, dear. Are you sure you are ready to cook some people with this your yeah? All right, so we would have our balloting and move on straight to the finals. So sit on your seat and enjoy the rest of the show. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So, whilst I'm waiting for Ferdinand to bring the things for the ballot, a couple of things. So, a couple of things you notice from the semi-final. Please make the debate engaging. I don't like boring debates. We all don't like boring debates. Yes, ask the POIs. And then the second thing, before you move on to the final, please again, convey your thoughts in the convey your thoughts in the clearest way as possible. Analyze your thoughts. Don't let us assume for you. And this is the last thing that the judges said I should tell you. So if I don't get your case, it is because you didn't analyze it well to my understanding. Thank you very much.
Hello? Okay, so every school should pick one rep who will count for the balloting. So we are ready. School of Medicine and School of Pharmacy. Okay. So SARS is closing government. School of Pharmacy is opening government. STEM is closing opposition. And School of Medicine is opening opposition. Thank you very much. So let's
Good day, everyone. So we are done cooking the finals motion. All right, great. So in British parliamentary style of debating, we have something called iron person. So if your partner is not around, you can speak twice, but you have a number of rounds that you can speak. So you could say School of Pharmacy speaker for the first round spoke twice, but the partner is here now, so he will be joining for the finals. All right, thank you. All right. Please give me. All finalists should be seated here, and I want to be ready. I want to confirm if you are ready to take the motion. Info slide. I need to read before I send it to the group. So pay attention. They are using the standard British parliamentary style and time. So we are doing 7 minutes speeches. All right. Let me open the group. The SRC group, right? Okay, info slide. Nationalization refers to the process by which a government takes control of a private industry or private assets and converts them into public ownership. I'm reading again. Nationalization refers to the process by which a government takes control of a private industry or private assets and converts them into public ownership. This can be done for various reasons, including economic stabilization, redistribution of resources, or political motives. This can be done for various reasons, including economic stabilization, redistribution of resources, or political motives. Motion. It is 5-5. Motion. This House, as the Ghanaian government, will nationalize all telecommunication companies. Example, Telecel, MTN, Airtel Tigo, etc. Motion. This House, as the Ghanaian government, will nationalize all telecommunication companies. Example, Telecel, MTN, Tigo, etc. It's 5-5. Debate starts at 5:20. Motion has been dropped. All right, on the grand finale panel, we have, all right, we have Gaga Deovolent, we have Vuma Di Seraph, we have Clue Richard, we have Archimedes Donko, Kelvin Azameti, and then myself. So please, you can start finding your way here. And the finals will be chaired by Archimedes Donko.
All right. So, hello everyone. Hello. So, welcome to the grand finale of this year's SRC Inter-Schools Week debates. In the side in opening government, we have the School of Pharmacy. In opening opposition, we have School of Medicine. In closing government, we have School of Allied Health Sciences. And then in closing opposition, we have School of Sports and Exercise Medicine. All right, and so the final motion, before then, all BP rules apply, which is British parliamentary debates, where we have 4 teams debating for the same motion. 2 teams are going to be speaking for the motion. The other 2 teams are going to be speaking against the motion. The rules are quite simple, and I think they are well vested with the rules as well. And so all standard BP timing rules apply. POIs are encouraged but not mandatory, and keep it within 15 seconds time frame, after which you'll be bailed out. All right, so the motion for this final is, it has an info slide which reads, nationalization refers to the process by which a government takes control of a private industry or private assets and converts them into public ownership. This can be done for various reasons, including economic stability, stabilization, redistribution of resources, or political motives. Motion. This House, as the Ghanaian government, will nationalize all telecommunication companies, including Telecel, MTN, Airtel Tigo, etc. With this, I'll invite the Prime Minister to begin the debate. Here.
All right. I begin my speech in 3, 2, 1. So the most important thing for us to consider today is the problem at hand. What are we trying to solve here? What's the policy trying to solve here? Within status quo, we already have telecommunication companies that are providing us with services. But the problem is their services are not catering for all of the people within our society. So people within rural areas are not really benefiting from these things. And we already know that communication is an essential part of our lives as human beings and as Ghanaians. Everyone wants to be talking with someone. Everyone wants to communicate and keep in touch with people. So people who are within these areas do not really benefit from it, and that's a problem. That's the first thing that we need to consider. The second thing, high charges that we get from these people. So because of things like this, people are unable, there's that kind of like high burden on people when they buy into these things. The charges are very high, and therefore certain people are unable to buy into this, and this impedes on their quality of life as a whole. Now, let's look at some actual framing and characterization. Now, the government of Ghana has a mandate to aid people because of social contract. We already see something like the National Health Insurance Scheme, which caters for certain aspects of our health. So the government takes this cost and then is able to cater for our health. Why would the government also do this in terms of telecommunication? Telecommunication companies provide a very important service for our people, which is the ability for them to communicate and then be online and then be happy. Because when people go online, they're not just going online to just be online. They go there to be happy. Some people's businesses are there. People study there. So it's a very important aspect of our life, and therefore the government needs to step in and then take control of the companies. The reason why governments will also need to step in is because of the fact that there's some form of monopolization within our system. So there are a few companies that are profiting from this, and then other telecommunication companies are not really profiting from it. And so there's kind of like that squeezing on the other companies on their necks, and therefore revenue is not really shared equally between the companies. So certain companies are benefiting whilst others are not benefiting, and that's a very big problem for us. Also, things like employment issues and other things like that. These companies have more or less a very strict and rigid way of employing people, and therefore, when the government steps in, it's able to when we step in and then we nationalize things, we are able to open more branches and do more things and then bring in more people into it. So now let's look at the how we would actually do the nationalization. So we will not take full control of the companies. By taking full control of the companies, we are more or less giving the companies like an opportunity to go and set up new companies elsewhere and still compete with us, which means the impact that we are trying to get, we will not get it. But rather, we will take a certain percentage of their company, or let's say a certain percentage of their stake or their shares, and put it that way. So by taking that percentage of their shares, we are still able to keep some of their workers in place. We are still able to keep their workers with us. Their logistics and machinery, we are still able to keep them, and then we are able to distribute these logistics and machineries and workers to all other telecommunication facilities that we have nationalized. Therefore, there's an increase in the quality of telecommunication services. Now, because the government is subsidizing these companies more or less, the cost and then charges that people who buy into telecommunication companies would have to, what they would have to buy, governments will more or less subsidize some of these costs. And therefore, there's a reduction in the cost and the charges, and people are able to buy into these things more. Now, the government would set up more companies in rural areas so that they can benefit, so that the people in the rural areas can benefit from it. Why would they do this? Because, as I've already said, there's a social contract that they have, and therefore they want everyone within within the country to benefit from these services. When we leave these services just to the telecommunication services, they don't have any incentive to move into the rural areas. Why? Because they feel over there, one, they are not going to benefit like that, because the number of people who would buy into their services is low. But I've already said that the reason why people would not want to buy into it is because of the high charges. But because the government is now subsidizing, people will now be able to buy into these telecommunication services, because now we have them at various rural areas, and therefore it wouldn't be a problem if I'm moving from here to another place that's very rural and very far away. I'll still be able to talk to my mother, I'll still be able to talk to my father, send my assignment to my lecturer, or do whatever I need to do on the internet. I'll still be able to have my online debates and everything like that. So that's an important thing for us, and I think you guys should actually consider it. So let's look at some of the effects that not nationalizing would bring about. I think I've talked about a few, but then let's look at a few others. So this has brought about impediments in the development of rural areas. Why am I saying this? It's because certain companies need the services of telecommunications companies. Without the transfer of data, they wouldn't want to set up in these rural areas. Now, because of the lack of telecommunication companies over there and then the bad services, companies will not want to go and invest over there in these rural areas. So this brings about that lack of development in these areas, because companies don't find any incentive in moving there. But when government nationalizes, companies will now want to move in there, because rural areas have the land, so they can build infrastructure and other things like that. And they also have certain things that urban areas do not have. Things like farmland and minerals and other things of that sort. So it will make companies want to move into this area and then start doing things over there, building infrastructure. And this would benefit the people also staying there. I'm not saying urban people will not benefit. Urban people would also benefit, because now there's a better service, better quality, and things like that. But the rural areas would also benefit a lot from this policy, because companies will move in there, they will set up their things over there. It will bring in more businesses, more things there, and the rural area will start building up, and things will start getting better over there. Yeah, so I'd like to end my speech over here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister, for those wonderful remarks. So, I would invite the leader of opposition. Here.
How many minutes? Okay. So, good evening, everyone, once again. My name is Michael Isirifi, and I'm the first speaker for the School of Medicine. Yes, so shout out to School of Medicine, those here. Okay, so I would like to, sorry, I would like to begin my speech in 3, 2, 1. Panel, I have to read the motion again for emphasis. The House, as the Ghanaian government, would nationalize all telecom companies, etc., MTN, SL, Tigo, whatever it is. So, panel, we have to understand that with such a motion, we are not looking at just any other country, we are looking at Ghana. So, when we are picking Ghana, we are also involving things like its economic stability in status quo right now. We are involving the way they have managed past, resources that they themselves own. We have to involve a lot of things here before we can have a very nice debate. I agree with some things that the opening government said, like telecom services not catering to everyone, there being some high charges for services and some other things, which I'll be responding to. So on to my responses. Now, panel, they talked about how the services don't cater to everyone and how high charges for services and how there are high charges for services. Panel, we have to understand that with their whole argument about subsidies being, like the government subsidizing stuff and all of that, we see that in Ghana here, the current economy or the economic stability of the country would make subsidizing things like this very difficult, because you have to take into consideration where the government, even things that they are running, like free education and all of those things, they are suffering to even handle those things. And you are saying that we should put all our telecommunication companies, or at least the big ones, into the hands of a government which, as one, failed to even manage their own resources, and two, failed to manage resources that in the past they have nationalized. So we have things like some transport services and the rest, where the governments nationalize them, but at the end of the day, these transport services are we are seeing the cars parked in garages, rusting, and the government not doing anything about it. We have to understand that there's a very big problem with things like maintenance culture in Ghana, where once the government gets hold of something, they just give it to someone who is not even well qualified to handle these services. A lot of things are being done on political basis, where once I'm a political party, at the end of the day, you're going to get a position and I have to give you something so that you're satisfied. You have to understand that there are lots of nuance to this argument, and unlike what government tries to paint, where it's like a rosy picture, oh, we'll do this, we'll do that, with the economic stability and the kind of people that are running our country, you have to understand that for a lot of the arguments to run, then we are going to have a complete overhaul of the kind of ruling system we have, where at the end of the day, we have a little more accountability than is needed. Yes. Okay, so on to my main point. Panel one, we have to, okay, I've already started the argument on the government's previous track record. Two, we also have to understand that there's a big problem when it comes to the government obtaining a lot of power, because they are getting access to all the information of the people in the country. We have to understand that, one, information is power. And when we say information is power, it's like a very big thing, because at the end of the day, you as the government, it's going to be like a centralized thing. With MTN, the amount of information that MTN has, they are not going to have only your number, they're going to be having your date of birth, they're going to be having your Momo pin, they're going to be having a lot of things. And with the kind of system that we have here, where at the end of the day, someone can easily hack into the government database, because we've seen a lot of instances where the people hack into the government database, and at the end of the day, information was leaked. Information of civil servants who were working in the government being leaked. With this kind of problem being there, it's going to be very dangerous for we to just centralize all this information into one place, so that at the end of the day, we'll say the government has nationalized everything. I know opening governments try to tackle the whole argument about the government having shares in these companies and the rest. But for you to even have shares in these companies, you have to understand that at the end of the day, you will still have access to this information. If it's not even going to be in a very large capacity, it's still in some capacity where at the end of the day, this information is going to be prone to attacks. Two, we also have to understand that it's going to be very hard for these companies to even agree to the whole process of nationalization. Panel, why am I saying this? These are foreign companies, where these the owners of these telecommunication companies are based outside. So basically, you can say that MTN, Etotigo, Telecel are foreign companies where they have large chains of this. We considering this, we have to understand that these companies are not just going to be so willing to hand over a share of their company to you. Even if you are going to be buying it, you are going to have to use money to go and buy it or purchase it. Money that you don't have currently. Money that is going to be difficult for you to even accrue right now, because we are even looking at a situation where we are being taxed on every single thing that we buy, meaning that the government themselves is broke and they don't have the money. In a case where they are saying that we should hand, or that these telecommunication companies should give you their shares, there's going to be a lot of lawsuits involved where they'll be like, I don't want to hand over my company to you. And you're going to be like, as the state, I have like certain things like maybe social contracts and the rest to my people to fulfill. These companies are going to send you to court, and at the best case scenario, what we see is that they will say, okay, buy these shares at exorbitant prices. At the worst case scenario, where they are not able to get their way, they will just dissolve these telecommunication companies and move out. And at the end of the day, what we are seeing is that you will not be able to send money to your family members and the rest. You're not going to be seen, you're not going to be able to make calls, internet access, everything, because all these people are like, we don't want to agree to your government's we don't want to agree to your government conditions, and then we will move out. At the end of the day, we are going to be seeing a very mass blackout of transfer of information and the rest. Opening government, do you have any POIs? Closing government. Okay, so I'm moving on. So for the impact, one, we want to show you that the likeliness of this solving any issues that they are bringing is going to be very low, because one, the probability of government employing the right people to manage these things properly is 0 to none. And this is something that we are going to be seeing happens very bad. We also understand that even if you say they are going to be like managing part of the shares or whatever it is, there still has to be someone who is going to oversee the part of the shares that is being managed. If that person is not going through the right processes to be employed, then we are still going to see that at the end of the day, there's mismanagement. We also have to understand that it's not likely to solve any problems like maybe our economic stripes or the rest, because at the end of the day, government has clearly shown that they cannot manage like a vast majority of the resources, and we have our economic problems that we are facing to prove it. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader of Opposition, for those wonderful remarks. So, to invite the Deputy Prime Minister here.
So my name is Rena Chitam, and I represent the School of Pharmacy. I begin my speech in 3, 2, 1. Nationalization, not autocracy. We are not talking about the government completely having power over these telecommunication institutions. We are telling you about partnership. The government is coming to join forces with this institution. We are going to work together to achieve development. I will later point out these developments which we will achieve. I want to state that my opposition misconstrued some of the reasons stated by the opening government, and I'm going to clarify that. First of all, the opposition spoke about the government to have too much power. That means that we give the government all our data-based information based on our telecommunication. The government is going to be so strong and have
power against the people. What is the government going to use power against the people for? Now, some of this telecommunication belongs to companies that are foreign. These companies have our information. Are they not using it against that already? Now, for the government of a country to have information about the people, and for foreign companies outside the country to have information about people, which one is better and which one is worse? I believe that you all agree with me that the government will use this information to benefit the people, and the foreign companies will rather not do this. Also, my opposition stated that the companies will not agree. I don't agree with you. Now, the decision made by the opposition that the company will not agree to accept this partnership is because it does not really understand the meaning of this partnership we are talking about. We did not say that we are coming to take your company completely away from you. We did not say that we are coming to prevent you from operating in the country. We are saying that we are coming to partnership with you. Come together so that your company will move higher. We are going to provide you with resources that include money and other technological devices you need to improve your company. Will you agree or you disagree? Now I'm going to give you reasons why there is the need for nationalization of resources. First of all, when telecommunication companies are nationalized, we all know that the government has some certain power over this country. So nationalizing telecommunication companies will improve the ability of the government as well as the companies themselves to come together and distribute these facilities all across the world. Now, there are places in this country which do not have telecommunication access. That is because POI is taken. Again. Okay. So now I want to tell you that the country will have fair population distribution because when telecommunication is moved to various villages in the country, more people will travel to these rural areas and that places will start to develop. So I want to say that distributing the telecommunication around the country by partnership with this institution will promote global national development. Also, there will be employment in the rural areas. We all know that currently there are unemployment in some rural areas. This is because they do not have the necessary facilities. One of these facilities important for this development is telecommunication. And I believe that when telecommunication is spread around the world, the rural areas will start to develop. Now I'm going to talk about poor productivity. We know that when there are lack of facilities, when there are lack of resources, there is poor productivity. Now, some rural areas do not have these resources, that is telecommunication we are talking about. When the government partnership with people to provide telecommunication to all these rural areas, there is going to be an increase in productivity. This is because the facilities will be available all around the country. And those villages who are having less productivity and less economic improvements will start to develop. Now, I'm going to talk about the fact that nationalization of telecommunication facilities will help to reduce rural-urban migration. Now, in cases where telecommunication facilities are nationalized, people do not have to come to the big cities. They do not have to come to the big places and areas before they can get access to quality services quality education. Now we know that some schools cannot be developed in the rural areas because there are lack of the necessary facilities, which include telecommunication. But now, when government partnership and nationalized telecommunication, it will be all over the country, and there will be less rural-urban migration. So I would like to conclude by saying that nationalization of telecommunication companies is very important because it will improve digital development, it will improve productivity, it will improve effective business transaction, and it will reduce rural-urban migration. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Prime Minister. I will invite the Deputy Leader of Opposition to end the top half of the debate.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Lily Amalolo Azuma, and I start my speech in 3, 2, 1. So my opponent has just successfully thrown dust in all of your eyes. So I, with the balm of Gilead, would like to clear all that dust and then give you the actual facts on the ground, because it seems they are detached from reality. So they claimed that the services of the telecom companies are not catering for most parts of the country. Well, I can say that for the parts of the country that the people really want to use mobile phones, they use SIM cards, right? And what SIM cards they do is, these are the same telecom companies that provide the SIM cards. So if you go to an area where there's no internet connectivity, it is understandable. But for the fact that the people there have phones, it means the internet connectivity is there. And they also mentioned that there are high charges from these networks. I think it would depend on your pockets, because if you really don't have a lot of money, you would be complaining about the price and the network charges. And as well, they also said that there's strict employment of these companies. Oh, hell no. There is no strict employment, because I standing here, I was once an Airtel Tigo worker. And then they gave me the opportunity, even though I was a student, I still worked with them. And then I earned whatever I was entitled to. So you can't tell me that there's strict employment. And for the fact that the people that you claim, if there's nationalization, would be employed are Ghanaians, the people working in the companies or the people I also worked with are Ghanaians. So they are not working with foreigners, even though they are mostly foreign companies. They are still working with Ghanaians. So the issue about employment is just trash. And also, these industries already have a running system and are able to manage themselves. My first speaker already mentioned that this government is unable to manage a lot of things. For one, that's the Ayalolo system that he mentioned, that the buses are rusting away in garages. The second one is also the free SHS. When I was in senior high school, I was started with the free SHS. Our uniforms didn't come on time, meals were not coming on time, we were starving at the dining hall. And this is a country that you claim these international companies like Telecel, MTN would want to partner with. Really? If you want to sponsor someone, you have to check the person's grades and see how the person is performing in school. So if they check the track records of Ghana and they realize that we are not really developing, even though we have the resources, I really doubt they would want to partner with Ghana or even give their control of their companies to Ghana. And more so, I would attest to the fact that this issue of nationalization would be a sheer greed of a political party, because political parties already come in with their preconceived ideas of things they want to do when they are given power. It's the same as the SRC. When people are aspiring for positions, they post flyers, they make great promises on their flyers, but when they come to power, the story is even a sad one. So this is just a fallacy of nationalizing telecommunication industries. It would work on paper, all right, but in the reality, I really doubt that that would work. And it's also not feasible because these international systems, as I mentioned earlier, will not even buy into this idea. And my co-speaker already mentioned it, that nationalization is the same as centralization. Why do I say this? Because if you are bringing all the telecommunication industries together, you are just trying to centralize them. And once it's a centralized system, there will be someone who will be controlling this centralized system. We have the National Communications Authority, all right, but then they are already regulating this because they are private industries. Bringing it to the public sector, we all know that things in the public sector don't actually work. That's why when they implemented the free senior high school, most of the ministers sent their children to AIS and all those private institutions. Why? Because they really know that in the private sector, things don't work. And looking at the fact that nationalization, we are bringing all our telecommunication systems in place. With the advancement of IT, there's cybercrime everywhere. I can even be sure that some of us seated here are victims of cybercrime. So if an individual is able to hack into this national system, the person can just shut down the internet connection of the whole country and even steal that information. Well, all the things I'm saying is not far-fetched. Just think back to your Ghana card registration. There was the whole claim of digitalization and all that. But then some of us later realized that other people registered using our Ghana cards. Meanwhile, I always have my Ghana card in my purse. How did that happen? Just think about it. And also, they said that if there is nationalization, well, you will be able to extend their services to telecommunication industries. You will be able to extend their services to the rural areas. And I bet you that is a lie. Because already the government should be responsible for creating development in the country, right? So these telecommunications are already doing so well. An example is Telecel, because they have sponsored this debate that we are currently having. And also MTN is also doing so well because they are building schools, they are giving people scholarships, and then a whole lot of things. So you're just sitting here telling me that these companies are not doing well, and when there's nationalization, things will get better. Oh, I think they are just sweet stories, but then for me, it's not sweet to my ears. And with our case of telecommunication companies, they already have info to our information. But then right now, the money I have in my wallet is still there. And there's a high risk that if everything is put together, as my first speaker said, that all our data is in one place, there's a high likelihood that it will be leaked. So in conclusion, these private companies are already doing so well. Like even the bottles on our tables are attestations to the fact. So you can't just throw dust in the house, in the eyes of the house, and tell them that they should nationalize it. Of course, what else can they do? They are really doing their best. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Leader of Opposition, for ending the first half of the debate. I'll invite the Member of Government. Here.
Okay, so I'd like to dedicate this speech to all those who made it here to support SARS. I'll begin my speech in 3, 2, 1. Panel, it is crucial you realize one thing in today's motion. This is an ACTA motion. It means that our primary interest is one, the interest of the ACTA, that is Ghana, primarily. Secondly, the incentive of the ACTA, that is Ghana. And thirdly, the capacity of the ACTA to implement the policy of nationalization. We don't care about the telecommunication companies or their enterprises because they are not the actors in today's debate. The primary actor is Ghana. Now, let me frame the debate properly so you understand me. Ghana is a third world country. It means that Ghana is faced with economic crisis. Ghana is faced with things like high standard of living, poverty, crime rate, etc., etc. Anything you can think of that has to do with lack of money or lack of wealth in a particular nation is in Ghana in status quo because the state does not have money. That's why we keep borrowing, we keep going to IMF. They implemented e-levy thinking that that can solve part of their problems and generate enough revenue for the state. But that didn't work enough. That is why this drastic measure has to be taken. Now, we need to understand that this measure is drastic and justified based on the principle of state preservation. Ghana is an indebted nation. This is the alternative, or this is the way to maximize profit coming into our countries, because you realize that these telecommunication companies are all foreign companies. None of them belong to a Ghanaian. It means that they come and repatriate profits and send it to their countries and develop them. This is similar to what was happening back in the day when there was like slave trade and they were taking our gold away. Now they are taking our money away by giving us services, and their services are even more expensive. Now other teams talk about things like affordability, which I think is not even worthy of discussion in this debate, because it is this same government who made the affordability quite high by imposing more taxes. And this was because of their deplorable economic state. Now, the way to mitigate this problem is to generate funds. And the way they can generate these funds is to nationalize these companies. It means that when they nationalize these companies, all the profits that were trooping, I will not take you, put your hand down. Now, all the profits that were trooping out of our country are going to stay within our country in status quo. Now, when these profits stay in our country, it's going to improve our economy, it's going to cause an increase in productivity and more jobs and preserve our state at large. The incentive of the actor to do this is economic stability, and our capacity to implement this is based on the resources we have as a state. There is no possible way any private company can compete with the government of Ghana. Why? Because the government of Ghana is endowed with resources. If it's about human resources, we have it. All the engineers that work in Telecel, Airtel, Tigo, MTN are all Ghanaians. It means that these people have some level of loyalty to the state, and then the state can easily put your hand down. Take you. I'm not taking POIs. So it means that the state can talk to these Ghanaians to stay and offer their services to help Ghana come out of this economic distress Ghana is facing. Ghana is the actor in this motion. Ghana should be prioritized over every other claim that they make in today's debate. Now, what are my cases and impact, panel? My cases and impact is that if we do this, the benefits we derive is for all parties. Now, why do I say this? Because revenue stays in the country, and that's alleviates the burden on poor people. That bridges the gap between the marginalized and the elite in society in terms of telecommunication or access to information and all those things that exist in our country in status quo. Secondly, aside the fact that the state is self-preserving itself, which beats every other claim, which beats every other incentive that both OG and OO raise or present to you, you realize that by doing this, the state benefits more. Secondly, effective supervision of all telecom activities. These are private companies operating in status quo or operating in our country. As a result, most of the things they do, to a certain degree, I would say they are autonomous, even though they are under the government. But then, because the government is not well involved in what they do, it creates this sort of limitation in tracking them as far as their duties, as far as their services and provisions to the citizens are concerned. Nationalizing this is going to give the state the ability to effectively supervise all telecommunication activities, and the idea people have of being cheated is going to be eroded or is going to be taken away. Why do I say this? I'm saying this because since Ghana is a democratic state, the government has an incentive to satisfy the masses. It means that they will do things that will cause people to still vote for them, to keep them in power. This is their incentive. And then mechanizing this will mean that they will do things, like example, a policy like free SHS was done to win the hearts of the masses, so they stay in power. So there will be more policies as such that will keep them in power. Secondly, where is it, Kra? Secondly, relax. Secondly, all comes to make a whole argument about the fact that the government can't manage these private companies properly or adequately. I think that is false, because you should realize that private companies equally have the ability to mismanage, to be mismanaged and all those things. Classically, not so long ago, quite a number of banks in Ghana had to be consolidated because of mismanagement. They went bankrupt. It means that these banks did not have money in their coffers to even service their people. The same government of Ghana, he thinks is incompetent, has to come into the picture and consolidate them. And this consolidated bank is one of the best performing banks in status quo in this country. It means that the government has the capacity, panel, to manage or nationalize telecommunication. I will not take you to manage telecommunication companies in the country. Also, where is it, Kara? Also, consolidated banks. Also, consolidated banks are a good example to reiterate that the government can implement things like consolidating the telecommunication companies in Ghana. For all these reasons, we win this debate.
Thank you, member of government. We'll invite the member of opposition. Here.
Okay, so starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. So I want to ask my closing argument. Now the free SHS, is it the free SHS where children don't get food to eat, or which one? So continuing, let's look at this icebreaker. Can you imagine how Ghana would be like if our airway system can provide us with about 5.8 billion US dollars and be like the US or the UK or the France that we all here want to jackpot to? But this is the situation where in 1961, the Ghanaian Airways, which was a private state company, was nationalized, and this has brought about mismanagement, and this is what we see here. So moving on to the point why you guys should rally behind me and not nationalize all these telecommunications companies is as follows. 1, efficiency. Look at this critical situation. How many of us here went to public schools? How many of us here went to private schools? Comparing the supervision and the monitoring mechanism in public schools and private schools, we could see that the private school is more higher, and this leads to efficiency of these private companies. Look at the passes of these private companies compared to the public companies. Not saying that the public schools do not do well, but just look at the gap. Comparing AIS to Hope Fiave Municipal School. You can't tell me this. Another reason why you should rally behind me is innovation. Looking at the government have a lot on them to do. So the government will not spend money to invest in research in the telecommunication industry. But looking at the private company, that is their business and that is what they are centered on. They will do all they have to do to make sure that their research continues to go up and up and up. Another reason why I think that you guys should not nationalize private companies is the lack of competition. So looking at a class where there is no competition and the one who takes the lead is always taking the lead, this brings a form of complacency and also that does not bring any form of improvement. So lack of competition. Looking at this other, we could see that Telecel brought 10 gigabytes for 10 cities, and you see that MTN is also trying to do something that will make their consumers to purchase them more. So with government nationalizing these companies, where will this competition be between these companies that will bring about improvement? Furthermore, let's look at the reduced investment. So we could see that private companies are known for their efficiency rates because we all here know that private services are best. That is why someone can spend billions of cedis in a private hospital and believe that the results of the test scores are right comparing to a public facility that he or she went to. So reduce investment, as in the case that when these private companies are nationalized, when these private companies are nationalized, industries or international organizations that would invest into these private companies, if they were to stand alone, they will not do, because these companies are not being productive and they are not showing themselves to be efficient in their dealings. So these are some of the alternatives that I think my CG people should buckle up with me and let's make this peaceful. So we could have a public-private partnership where reward and risks are shared together, where research and development are taken together. Because you know that private company, their sole responsibility is to make money and also make sure that they are increasing in whatever they do. So they'll channel any source of money they have into research, unlike the government side. Let's also look at taxation and revenue sharing. So one, we have government revenue. So taxation provides a steady stream of revenue for the government without requiring full ownership. So OG also said something about nationalization and partnership, and I also want to clear this doubt. So nationalization is where government takes full ownership and control of a company. Private ownership is eliminated, where partnership on the other hand is where two parties come into being and shares and risks are shared among both of them. So we can say that nationalization is linked to autocracy in the sense that it lies in the potential for government control and centralized decision making to lead to authoritarian practices and suppression of individual freedom. As I said earlier, the public company will not channel their resources to any research or development since they have a lot in their cap, education, rules, and all you can think of, compared to a private telecommunication company, which all they do is that they make sure that our communication network is feasible. Last but not the least, so another way, instead of nationalization, we could achieve this is international cooperation. So instead of nationalizing this these companies, there could be instead of nationalizing these private companies, there could be international cooperation. As I said earlier, that the efficiency in this private companies is high. So when the international organizations are channeling their resources into these organizations, they do not fear because they know that at the end of it, they will yield their results. Thank you.
Thank you, member of opposition, for those wonderful remarks. We'll invite the government whip to sum up the debates for the government. Go ahead.
My name is Bright Maonyega Guku. Preferred gender pronoun she or her. I'll be starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. So panel, I'm basically going to do two things in today's debate. I'm going to engage up bent and then give you a reason why you should place CG above all houses in today's motion. Panel, my member of government comes and gives us a detailed analysis on the motion being an ACTA motion, meaning that our concentration is on the Ghanaian government, the Ghanaian economy. All other actors have less relevance in the said motion, and we need to take this in consideration. A major argument you get from opening opposition is on the idea of mismanagement. But then to clash that argument, I'm going to give more analysis on what my member of government comes to raise in today's debate. It makes you understand that we are in a Ghanaian society and a Ghanaian government where government is at a tipping point. Government is at the instance where he is taking every drastic measure to generate enough revenue to alleviate that economic ditch that he finds himself in. Hence, every drastic step government is going to take to make more revenue, government is buying into that. It's just like you saying that government of Ghana is having a failing economy. Yes, so Airtel, Tigo, Telecel, and MTN are making huge profits, and government should fold its hands and smile at them. It just doesn't make sense. Even the average Ghanaian will question the knowledge of the said government, and it trashes their whole argument on government having a bad history and not buying into this alternative. Now, the DPM comes with another interesting argument, and this is her argument, very simple and nice. This is her argument. Her argument is that government doesn't have that needed incentive to deal with scrupulous individuals who hack into the systems of Telecel. In other sense, she's talking about scamming. The chair, panel, if we are to talk about dubious ways and scams that have been existent in status quo, these individuals acting as private organizations have a higher track record as compared to government. We have seen Telecel battle with so much incentives to deal with crime and scams that exist in their world. And then that is highly trashed by my member of government when it makes you understand that you live in a society, in a Ghanaian society, where government has the most resources. Hence, those ideas of alleviating scams and individuals who perpetrate these crimes is highly achieved in our world because we deal with all those mismanagement. Now, there is the argument you get from opening government. Opening government scams and their whole argument is on about development. We have no problem about development, but then you need to understand the concept of the said motion. Government is not concerned about building schools in rural areas. If government is going to build so many enterprises of Telecel in the northern sectors and the upper west sectors where they are going to even have $2 million annually by introducing more resources, and then those same resources are being introduced in the urban centers and government is getting $5 million, we in our world are buying into the idea of government bringing that $2 million in the urban centers to generate $5 million because we are more concerned on generating revenue, not developing the entire state. And that is the arguments that we raise in our first point. When we make you understand that in our world, all parties are satisfied. We have three main stakeholders in the said motion. That is government, the Ghanaian society, and then these Telecel companies. Alleviating and creating an economically stable economy tends to benefit all these parties. Why do I bring this into play? A stable economy means standard of living is going to be well done, which means it's going to be okay for all the citizens. That also means that government will have enough resources to cater for all the challenging problems of Ghanaians, because now government is going to generate and gain more profits from what he is gaining from these Telecel companies. And then with the Telecel companies as well, this is going to go deeper into the characterization and framing my member of government brings, and I'm going to explain that. Nationalization, which closing opposition don't get and should rank fourth in the said motion because it's already obvious, is that we are not taking the entire profits of these private enterprises. Government, in a sense, is rather going to create an effective supervision method, limit the huge profit margins that these companies repatriate to their foreign countries, and then further create in place incentives to generate more revenue and keep those monies in the Ghanaian economy so that the Ghanaian economy will have so much of these monies. So if Telecel is generating $5 million and each time they are recruiting or repatriating $4 million to their foreign countries, the government of Ghana is going to reduce those margins and make sure that Ghana is rather earning $3 million from that, and Telecel can now repatriate $2 million, which is a bit fair. In an economic society where these foreign companies are a bit biased towards the government, it tends to undermine the sovereignty of the government and trashes all arguments of fairness and insecurity raised by the upbenchers. They are highly trashed and ranked last in the said motion. On effective supervision, I have explained to you. Benefits to all parties, I have explained to you. But then I would like to touch a bit on the reduced investment and the lack of competition that closing opposition brings. Closing opposition brings an idea of lack of competition among Telecel, Airtel, Tigo, and MTN. We care less about our competition. As government in the ACTA motion, we are more concerned about our generation of revenue. So if these companies are able to buy into the idea of government, then they go with us. We care less whether they buy into the idea or not. If you are not buying into this idea, then move out of our country and go to other places, because it's Ghanaians that benefit or achieve all these services. If you are servicing and profiting from Ghanaians, then the Ghanaian government also has that moral right, that social right to also benefit from your enterprises. So when they tend to be a bit biased on the side of government that he shouldn't benefit from these companies, they tend to lack on the side of reduced investment. Shoot. You are making too much noise. I've explained to you what is existing in status quo. On analysis of three things, that's the actor in the said motion. My member of government comes and gives you a better analysis when he explains to you that government is in a state where the economy is failing. Each policy he will enact to make sure that it generates enough to achieve this policy is heightened. The proportion and the margin of government succeeding in generating revenue is high because we are living in a Ghanaian economy, and the motion has been stated in the Ghanaian status quo where our economy is already failing. failing. So if you are talking about a Ghanaian government that will fail, then you should also talk about a Ghanaian government that has enough money to develop himself. A government is failing. It doesn't have enough policies. The motive now is to generate enough money. If government of Ghana is generating enough money, like $5 million, to stay in power, he will definitely go into that idea to create that stable economy, which we achieve in our world. But then in your world, you don't achieve that level of selfishness on the part of government. The chair, panel, I basically came to do two things in today's debate. I came to analyze the arguments raised by government benches, show you why we siege places over OG, and then why opening governments should share both third and fourth respectively. At this point, I proudly propose. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Government Whip. We'll invite the Chief Whip to end up the debate. Here.
Hello. Good evening to all of us. Panel, good evening. I want to thank everybody for coming here to watch us win. My preferred pronouns is she or her. I start my debate in 3, 2, 1. Now, panel, everything everybody has said to you is a lie. They have lied to you because, except our bench, everything they have said is like total lies. I feel that opening opposition, opening government, closing government, they don't understand the motion. The info slide states that nationalization refers to the process by which a government takes control, underline control, of private industry or private assets and converts them into public ownership. It means that immediately nationalization happens, the private people don't have anything to say. Now, I want to start with closing government. Closing government comes to tell us something about the Consolidated Bank of Ghana. What happened before that? All the banks were swept away. There's a bank in Ho called Unity Bank. That place, go to sleep there. And then it means that the facility has gone into the air. The people that are working there no longer have employment. So what is the government doing? I don't get that. TJ also talked to us about taxes. I feel that they don't understand what the public and private sector is. If the private sector makes 4 million, it doesn't send 4 million to the country it is coming from. The government takes tax. The government takes a part of it for them operating in the country. So I feel that whatever everybody has come to say here, they don't understand the public and private sector and ownership in Ghana. Now, opening opposition, they come to talk to us about how things can be fixable. They didn't give us an alternative. So we shouldn't nationalize. What should we do? They didn't tell us anything. Then opening government. Opening government comes to tell us about subsidies, initiatives, incentives, and so on. We see Teleso, we see MTN giving scholarships to students, building schools. They also talk about urban rural migration. Why are the people migrating? They are not migrating because they cannot talk to their families in Accra. They are migrating because they don't have work to do. And they have not directed that they are creating employment from these people. I don't understand. Because in the rural areas, we have Momo vendors. And are these people not employed? Are they not working under the private sector? I don't know what opening government, closing government, and then opening opposition is saying. Now, what do we tell you? We tell you that when these private companies are still in the game, at private-owned companies, there is healthy competition, very healthy competition, because the government cannot take care of, they cannot do everything for us. Roads, transportation, water, that is a lot. And they tell us that the government will make more money. So the more money they go for World Bank and Co. Why are they not able to manage it? That alone proves that when they take the private companies, they will not be able to do anything. Now, I also want to state that let's just compare this. That when the government companies, when government takes over these private companies, it will do well. How many of us watch GTV? None of us. We are either watching Joy News or TV3 or one of the likes. These are private. GTV is even blur. You cannot even see what is on the screen. and then Join News is a private owned company and it is giving you the best it can give you. So it means that when these companies turn into private public companies, they are not going to give us anything. Like the services is poor, everything free SHS is poor. Look, let us look at the reason why nationalization is important: economic stabilization, redistribution of resources, and political reasons. If the companies are still here and then our economy is like, if they do more, it can be stabilized, then our resources are also redirected. What do you think? The Get Fund scholarship, how many people did it give scholarships in Uhas? It's not even up to 100 people. Look at the number of scholarships Telecel, MTN, and Co give. Are they not doing best? Now, if nationalization occurs, do you know what will happen? There will be like the government to take over everything, and every political party will want to prove themselves. Even in our public toilets at our homes, if NDC is in power, it is an NDC man that will give the toilet paper out. And then it is like that. So it means that it brings about total confusion. Now, what does closing opposition tell you? They give you an alternative. And what is that alternative? Partnership. They should partner. The public sector and the private sector should come together and do what? Share the risk involved, share the reward involved. That is what I'll take it. Okay, now I am saying that what you don't understand here is that in one way or the other, government is taking tax from these people. So it's close, there's a percentage Telecel gives Ghana. That is what you don't. My problem with you is that you don't understand how the public and the private sector works with the government. You don't understand it. Let's not argue it. Now, if the government wants to nationalize, they tell us that yes, they are international owned companies. Ghana will have to buy these companies. Ghana will have to buy it. It will have to do the restructuring. All of these things involve money. Why don't they channel the money into fixing our roads and then getting schools and then promoting the free SHS that we have? Now, if every, like, okay, government tells us that there are foreign investors and that they should take them so that they can make all the revenues. When we change Telecel into a government-owned enterprise, will another foreign country want to come and invest? We are giving tax away. We are getting something from the people. So there's no need. Here.
Thank you, Chief Whip, for ending the debate, and thank you all for us. It's a very lovely debate. We'll give the judges about 15 minutes and we'll be back with the deliberation. Thank you.
Hello. 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 A School of Medicine in the house. Oh, a School of Medicine in the house. A School of Pharmacy in the house. A School of Pharmacy in the house. Because the way SARS people are cheering, the tables are shaking. School of Medicine. This one, defense of title is coming inside. School of Medicine, they are the current champions. So there is a lot to defend today. Are we retaining the title or we would have to hand it over? Somebody shout composure. Oh, composure. The kind of energy that you are using to support your schools there, it's not nice. By now, some drama and things, people are cheering and but I'm not seeing the energy cry. Anyway, before we move on to deliberating on the set topic, we would want to acknowledge the SRC executives that are here with us. So let's give a round of applause to the Speaker of Parliament, Ms. Mary Gamor. acknowledge the SRCPRO, Mr. Osei Eugene. And also, we have here with us the whole provincial secretary, Mr. Justice Agbesi. All right. So, before we move on to talking about the said motion, which school is winning this year's edition? I think at this point we need to invite some more people to join us, because if we were to rank the winning team by the shouting of SARS, then it looks like SARS is taking the okay, fine, let's do this. So if call your people to join us. That we need them to come and shout and come and cheer, because it looks like the contestants are here, but the cheerleaders are at home. So we need more people to join us to cheer our teams to victory. But just before we come back to the winning team for today, we want to hear our thoughts very shortly on the said topic. Should telecommunication companies be nationalized or not? In other words, we should scrape off Telecel. MTN should go home packing. It's close to available. I mean, everyone else should be sent home packing, and Ghana will reign as having supremacy over telecommunication companies. And so we are going to share our thoughts very quickly on that. And so I'm coming around with a microphone. So when I get to you, tell us something small.
Okay. So I think this is a very interesting motion where we have lots of concerns about it. But I think from what you have heard so far, I really agree with the side that says that when these foreign companies come, they take a part of their profits to their nations or their home countries. We need to get all this money down to us and manage it as a country. But also, another thing that we are also forgetting is that when there's competition, then there's market. Businesses thrive on competition. If it's just a monopoly, it's a different ball game. You have to have a few of both sides and know why you're actually implementing this nationalization. None of that, we think we are doing something good, but at the end, we are just causing more harm than good. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much for your thoughts. And I think I seem to like this column so much. So let's hear from you.
I think if the government nationalizes it, it could better the whole population. And in UK, BT, is one of the government communication companies in the UK, and it's making a lot of money for the government. So why not?
All right. Thank you so much for your thoughts. You ran away the last time. I'm back again. Tell us something.
Okay, so if I'm the one, I'll go for the motion. In a sense that the second, this was arguing that creation of employment opportunities is a trash, and I don't see that as a trash, because if you have better network connection in in rural areas, companies to establish their, which will lead to people will get employed, and at the think about, yeah, that's what I think.
All right. Thank you so much. But clarity on what was said. The person said that with these current companies still in operation, Momo vendors are still currently in Kwetwe, whichever village. I mean, I'm not calling Kwetwe a village, but no offense to anyone. But then, whichever village that you think about, there's certainly a Momo vendor somewhere. And so, on this side, employment is still maximized, even with these private businesses still in operation. That was what the person was saying, not to entirely rubbish the idea of providing employment to the populace, right? So, please, I'd like to hear from you.
Hello. So I think government control over private sector, just as I said, so they can tax them more and they'll generate enough revenue to they make like take care of the country. Yes, that's what I.
All right. Thank you so much for your thoughts. I'm not sure if I should speak to the speakers who have already spoken, but I think that's not fair. They should be resting with their voices to cheer themselves later. So let's speak to people who haven't spoken today. All right. Let's hear from.
Okay. Well, personally, I think that straight up, no, they should not be. At, the government should not, take such complete control of them. So Ferdinand was speaking about competition. Now, in the end, I agree with what one of the speakers was saying that if the government were to have to manage all our telecommunication affairs and all that, they wouldn't do a very good job of it. So the private industry, the private enterprises, they are necessary for efficiency so that we can actually have excellent service, right? So that's what I think.
All right. Thank you so much. Let's hear from other people. But I think largely monopoly hasn't ever been the best. Whenever there are options, I think it pushes people to do better. But let's hear from Ms. Gamo.
All right, thank you for the opportunity. And I've been here for some minutes now, having listened to both sides debate on the motion before the House. I would like to remain neutral, but then should push come to shove, I think it's better for the government to allow private sector to operate, because centralizing everything would downtone on innovation and also the talent of or what people want to give. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your thoughts. Who hasn't spoken today? Show yourself before I come after you. All right. Want to speak? Want to speak? Share something with us.
So I think the government should not take over. It should take into account that when the government takes over, the people working there would no longer be accountable. There is this set of mindsets among Ghanaians that everything that belongs to the government is mishandled. Now people would no longer be proud to work. They would no longer give account. That would deprive us of the revenue or the resource that we used to get from these telecommunication networks. So the government should just let them work on their own and get their share from them.
All right. Thank you so much for your thoughts shared. But let's all come to think of this. Imagine that these telecommunication companies, we have some positions in there. Let's all imagine if these became a promise to some people during elections. How would that be? If, in addition to the already struggled positions in the government sector, and then now somebody says, oh, you join my team and let's do this, help me campaign, and then at the end of the day, I'll make you the CEO of the companies. Already, people are not getting what they deserve. Already, meritocracy is already at stake. And now we come to add telecommunication to it. And now Telecel cannot be independent in having to choose their own leaders or manage their own thing. And then there's government interference. So now let's still continue sharing our thoughts. Tell us something.
I think that with everything happening in Ghana, we assume that Ghana mishandle a lot of things. So I think private companies to manage their own business.
All right. Thank you so much. Who haven't I heard from today? Let's hear something.
Okay, so with your point that you made with the government appointing
people that will support them into positions when they nationalize the telecommunication companies. It's definitely going to affect the supervision because it means people who are not qualified could even be in such positions. So in that instance, I'll say it's a disadvantage if government is to take control over the telecommunications. So they just have to come up with a way to mitigate that. That's it shouldn't be by appointment, but something by you should qualify for it, yes, something like that. Thank you. Madam MC, where are you?
All right. For our judges, as you know, the arguments were very fine, so they need a little time to round up with everything.
I also think that governments managing these telecommunication networks need to show efficiency. Because if we are all thinking of the profits coming to the country, but if these profits are made by the country, they are going to be embezzled by people. At the end of the day, the country still suffers.
All right. Thank you so much for all the thoughts that have been shared today. But a quick one for all of us, just so whenever you are at any debate, you are not lost on the motion. What happens with an actor motion is that whenever you have to talk about an actor motion, you don't really care about other stakeholders aside the actor. For example, this house as a parent will beat a child. You can't come and say that as a child you feel so much pain when you are beaten and all those arguments. The only thing you can say is that, yes, I will beat this child because you are disturbing me, so I'll beat you. Because in this particular motion, what we are doing is that we are trying to look at the interest of the actor, which here is the parent, right? So whenever you come to any debate and you hear this house as this or that will do this, then it means that at that particular moment, the point of priority or whatever we are prioritizing is the effect on the actor or whichever stakeholder that is involved. So that was just a quick one because I think the motion was an actor motion in favor of the country. So I think it affected how everything was argued out, right? So we are still waiting for our judges. But School of Medicine, are they joining us or they've run away? SARS! SARS! Oh, let me hear the yeah. Oh, SARS! Isn't that right now we are having some new people join the school because I'm hearing yeah from some people who are not in SARS. SARS! School of Medicine. Hey! I think after here, some people have to go and change their courses because they've already changed it here in the auditorium. Which other people are we having? Sam, yes. Hey, Sam. How could I forget you? School of Sports and Exercise Medicine. Sam, are we in the house? Oh, Sam, are we in the house? It's like only one person is shouting the yeah. Oh, yes. So, the moment we've all been waiting for is just a few minutes away. A few minutes away. A very, very few minutes away. Yes. But then today, by the grace of God, our sponsors have done amazingly well. So I would like us to give a round of applause once again to Telecel Ghana. I mean, that was just by the way. But then imagine them not existing anymore. But we'll talk about that later. But then, just before we get right into it, let's invite them just for a little word with us. Let's give them a round of applause.
You. I actually didn't want to say anything, but I just wanted to announce that um, have gifts for the two winners for tonight. And so we've had a really good time. We came here with thinking it was going to be, the usual quiz, but been really, really insightful to listen to see how much they prepared and to just sit throughout the argument and learn even more about debating. So we are very excited about the opportunity to support you. Pass is very dear to our hearts, and so every SLC we are always going to be here. Um, so yeah, we are definitely waiting for the winners because we have something special for them. Thank you again.
Thank you so much, Telecel Ghana. So, this is to tell you that if you are using anything apart from Telecel, you are warned. If you have SIM cards available, please share for all of them, they will pay. Don't tell me you have the school Vodafone, you need a second one. Every SIM card you have, throw it away. We don't like it.
Sorry, there was one thing I want to tell you. You know, how many of you know about this star 5959 hash? It's working. Unless the network is down. But it's working. Because if you buy your data from there, it is better than me buying with the other one. So for a student, you use it. When you finish, that contract is ended with you. But now that you're a student, make use of that. Okay. And one thing I want to add to my colleagues is that I was impressed with the ladies, their presentation. Whether they win or they don't win, I will personally give each 100 cities. Yes. So please, guys, I am not being biased, but that's what I want to do. Forgive me. Thank you.
Yeah, just to touch on the point he made about the short code, we realize that a lot of you are sitting on money. So we understand that there have been some challenges with our network. Unfortunately, the storm that occurred yesterday affected some of our polls, but that has been resolved now. However, 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 think of those of you who do the videos and all of those things, watch, use Spotify, Apple Music. You know that they always have a package for students because they understand that for students, your spending habits are very different. And so as Telecel, we understand that there are some people who prefer, let's say, movies. There are some people who prefer to go online and watch YouTube videos. And so this star 5959 hash is made for you. It's bundles that actually are affordable to your pocket. So you shouldn't be buying the type of bundle that I would buy as a worker. Because maybe I may buy it at 10 cities, but you could get it at 8 cities or even 5 cities. So we'll be on your campuses and some of your halls. And so we just encourage you to use this short code. And we have our team also on ground. Even we are from Accra, but then we have our team on ground also that are available to handle any issues you may have, whether it's onboard you onto Telecel Cash, those of you with businesses, if you want to become a merchant, be able to take payments, all of that, we are available for you and will be around as well. Yeah, so if you have any concerns, particular, you can see Fadil or text him. We are on call, he has our numbers, and so just get in touch. Thank you.
All right, let's give it up for our sponsors once again. We have just some few minutes more. You can grab some juice and come back. Or maybe you can start snacking on your item 13. Or you're already done eating it, I suppose. I'll pass the microphone to the Speaker of Parliament. She will tell us. SARS, are you in the house? School of Medicine, are you in the house? School of Pharmacy, are you here? So the moment we've all been waiting for is here. So if somebody is outside, kindly call the person to join us inside. Our judges are ready. Our contestants are ready. Where are the cheerleaders? You are the only ones who are not ready. Where are the cheerleaders? Say yeah. Hey, which school is on this column? It's like you people cannot shout. You people are afraid. Somebody say yeah. I said it. They are scared. Say yeah. They are scared. They are afraid. They are shy. So our panel is here with us as well as our chair. All right. So our panel is ready. SARS, School of Medicine, School of Pharmacy. Hey, Ampofu, where are your people? All right, so quickly, let's invite our chair for today's debate, Mr. Akimides Donko, to help us with the rankings for today. All right. So we don't want anybody to go home empty-handed. Because of that, we have certificates of participation for each and every single contestant for today. And we would love to invite Mame Ansa from Telecel Ghana to help us with the first presentation. Please let's celebrate her with a round of applause. Next contestant is Miss Adonelli Let's welcome her with a round of applause. So let's invite Miss Juanita Ofori Ameche. Oh, let's give them a round of applause. Next up, we have Miss Yaira Antonio Dorothy. Oh, let's give her a round of applause. Next up, we have Mr. Cheetham Reina. Let's welcome him with a round of applause. Okay, so for the next presentation goes to the best speakers. So this award goes to the sixth best speaker. Yes, sixth best speaker. And we have the sixth best speaker in the person of Noble Ni Darko Hansen.
Yes.
And we have our fifth best speaker. Oh, are you not happy? So, up next is our fifth best speaker, and this goes to Miss Yaira Antonio Dorothy. Next up, we have the fourth best speaker. Is somebody ready? Is somebody ready? Right. So our fourth best speaker goes to Agbeko Daisy Bliss. Who's awarding them? Hello? Hello? All right. So our next presentation goes to Miss Adonelli. Please let's celebrate her with a round of applause. And this presentation will be done by Mr. Fred Tokonu from Telecel Ghana. So back to the speaker awards. We have the third best speaker. Is somebody excited? Is somebody excited? Is somebody excited? Oh, why? Why are you not excited? All right. So the next speaker award, which is the third best speaker, goes to Mr. Ampafo Piasa. And then who else will come? Somebody say composure. All right. So we have the second best excited? All right. So our second best speaker award goes to Mr. Michael Esirifi. So he's our. Now to the moment of truth. Who do we all think the first best speaker is? All right. So the first best speaker and the overall best speaker award goes to Mr. Bright Goku Paunega. Composure. Hello. Hello. All right. So now is the moment we've all been waiting for about 2 to 3 hours now. So now let's hear from the chair of the panel the rankings for this year's SRC debate. Thank you.
Hello. And so we're a panel of 6 judges. Some were very difficult decisions, like you guys were aware. And so we had to split in certain areas. And so the decision is not unanimous. It is not all judges that agreed to. It's a majority of judges. I'm going to start from the 3rd place. And so for the 3rd place, we have the team in Closing Government, School of Allied Health Sciences. 3rd place. So SAS is 3rd, School of Allied Health Sciences. Yeah, please come forward. 3rd place. In 2nd place, we have the team in Opening Government, School of Pharmacy. Opening Government, School of Pharmacy. All right, before I announce the winners, we have to appreciate the ladies in the finals. And so, Miss Dorothy, Miss Lily, kindly step forward for a bit of appreciation. Miss Lily. And so for the winners of this week, this year's SRC week debates, which school do you think won? On a 4-3 split, the team winning is the team in closing opposition, School of Sport and Exercise Medicine. Congratulations, School of Sports and Exercise Medicine. Congratulations. You win this week's SRC week debates. Congratulations.
I think we are done awarding everything. Okay, so can we have all the contestants upstage? We want to have a photography session with the Telecel Ghana team.
Come and explain.